However, upon seeing Aish defeated and dead, Sloane and the others cursed him as useless and led the remaining troops to retreat. The firepower of the siege tanks was too overwhelming. If they didn't retreat, would they just wait to be annihilated? Unfortunately, they did not witness what happened next. As the command center continued to fly in, its flight system was finally overloaded by the attachments. With no other choice, it had to make an emergency landing, kicking up a huge cloud of dust. Fortunately, it landed safely, and the reinforcements jumped down one after another. There are more than 40 Marine soldiers, 4 siege tanks, 8 Goliath-armed robots, 12 heavy mechs, 2 medics, and 1 SCV. How much weight can this small command center bear? Ryusuke was anxious and had rushed to the front, shouting loudly at BT and Jack Cooper. Where's General Chongwei? Chapter 35. The mission continues. The arrival of the reinforcements led by Ryusuke provided everyone with strong confidence and a sense of security. However, it also brought immense pressure, as their allied commander, Major General Chongwei, had sustained serious injuries from a laser cannon while defending against the enemy's IMC attack. His right side suffered extensive burns, and even his right arm and eyeball had been severely damaged by the high temperature of the laser. Furthermore, tests showed that the cells in the wound area had abnormal proliferation and division due to the laser attack, making regeneration impossible. The situation was quite severe. When Ryusuke saw Chongwei's injuries, he could hardly bear to look. Although 2 medics immediately began treatment, the conditions were limited and could not support more advanced restorative surgery. Chongwei had fallen into a coma, with a persistent high fever and low blood pressure. His injuries were critical. If it weren't for the medical technology of the Terran race keeping him alive, he would have already died. Ryusuke, now a major and the highest-ranking member of the militia present, had to shoulder all the burdens. After a detailed discussion with the 2 medics, he made a decision. With a serious expression, he issued orders to the medics. Prepare for debridement and mechanical limb reconstruction for the general immediately. I will take all responsibility. We cannot let the general die here. Yes, Major. Soon, a sterile area was cleared, and Chongwei was brought in for surgery. Meanwhile, the heavily damaged unit, Tian, was also dragged back. Although its power source was intact, its body was riddled with damage. This clearly indicated how intense the previous battle had been. The SCV was performing emergency repairs, but this was not a military repair facility, and many of the required parts were compatible with the Viking fighter jets. Thus, even if the emergency repairs were successful, Tian would lose its flying capability. In summary, while the situation was dire, it was still better than being completely lost. Later, Ryusuke learned about the current situation through discussions with the resistance fighters. The resistance had important intelligence that needed to be reported to the fleet. To contact the fleet, the power supply to the signal tower had to be restarted. Just moments ago, Major Anderson had successfully retrieved the ARC device and restored power. Just when everyone was hopeful about establishing contact with the fleet, a new problem arose. Well done, Major. Power has been restored. All right, everything is ready. The window leaves are unfolding. Detection complete. Power has reached 100. Restarting antenna lock. Initiating reboot of connection lock module 60708090. Warning. Unknown error. System has been shut down. Captain Cole is fumbling at the console, but he can't make sense of it. What the hell? What's going on? I don't know. Maybe the IMC cut the lines. Captain, the connection lock module has been disconnected. What should we do? At this point, everyone understood. It was likely the work of those IMC guys again. The control room began to buzz with activity as everyone was still trying to figure things out. Michael, can we connect the module through the side route? No, sir. That would expose our position to the entire IMC fleet. Captain Cole complained, helplessly saying, looks like we'll have to send someone to fix it. As he spoke, everyone looked towards Major Anderson and Jack Cooper. They understood what this meant, as they were the only ones present who were Titans. So they nodded in agreement to the request. In fact, time was tight, and they couldn't afford to hesitate. Thus, the forces of Ryusuke were tasked with guarding the home base, while they immediately took action. BT, we're moving out. Control has been transferred to the Titan. Titan, I detect that your emotional state is quite low. Jack Cooper replied nonchalantly. How can I be happy seeing General Chong so badly injured? Hearing this, even Major Anderson fell silent. War. It is destined to come with sacrifices. Chang's severe injury was something they hadn't anticipated and didn't want to see. Only by achieving final victory could they honor all the sacrifices made. As they walked, they arrived at a platform. Here, they detected several fallen Allied Titans nearby. But they had no time to mourn, as they bore a heavy mission. Major Anderson, there's no way forward. The 2 of them and 1 Titan observed for a moment and finally reached this conclusion. What should we do? Scanning shows that the moving connection lock module is located 428 meters to the northeast. However, there is no path leading there. At that moment, BT-72-74 pointed into the distance, indicating the building barriers supported by the towers. Titan, Major, according to my analysis, throwing is the only way to reach the other side. We must attempt it. Huh, BT. Are you joking? Jack Cooper gestured to the distance between himself and the opposite platform, speaking in shock. Major Anderson, however, smiled, seemingly intrigued by this risky method. Are you sure this is okay? Jack Cooper asked again. BT straightforwardly replied. This plan has a 68% chance of success. 68? What about the remaining 32? BT had already taken the throwing stance, signaling for Jack Cooper to come over while seriously replying. There is a 32% chance of failure in the throw. Unable to make the leap. It could lead to severe concussions and multiple fractures throughout the body. However, compared to that, the likelihood of dying from chemical mist after falling to the bottom is even greater. Upon hearing this, Jack Cooper was momentarily at a loss for words. Major Anderson next to him patted him on the shoulder and said, Cooper, sometimes risking your life is a form of spirit. Besides, we Iron Horse are pioneers who move forward fearlessly. Since there's south no road, we'll create one ourselves. With that, he confidently walked towards BT. Seeing this, Jack Cooper let out a deep sigh and immediately followed. To hell with it. Let us treat it as a gamble. Soon, he was lifted by BT. Wind speed, 3 knots. Wind direction, 274. Distance, 95 meters. Total weight of the object thrown, 89 kilograms. BT kept calculating parameters, seemingly searching for the best throwing angle. This scene made Jack Cooper's heart race. BT, my life is in your hands. BT's adorable electronic eye suddenly glanced at him. And then its mechanical arm instantly formed a small fist. Trust me, Iron Horse. Then, with a short run-up, Jack Cooper was launched like a shot put. Chapter 36. Communication completed at this point. It had been 18 hours since the rebel forces and Chang Wei's fleet were transported away by the IMC's space-time folding weapon. However, during this gap, the IMC fleet had already deployed and was in position, causing communication interference and air superiority issues on Typhon. Therefore, the situation on the ground was unclear to everyone in the fleet. There might still be surviving troops, or they might have already perished in enemy-occupied areas. Moreover, their standoff with the IMC fleet and the fierce battle for air superiority left them with little energy to send troops to search for Chang Wei and the others. At least in their view, blindly searching like headless flies was less effective than quickly obtaining air superiority over Typhon to eliminate the communication interference. Chang Wei gradually regained consciousness in a daze. He had undergone medical-mechanical modifications. His body was no longer in life-threatening danger, and with the supplement of nutritional agents, his bodily functions were rapidly recovering. Using available resources, the medics fitted Chang Wei with a mechanical right arm and a mechanical eye, along with nanomedical beams that repaired his burned skin, making him look somewhat like a Terminator with half of his skin exposed. He looked in the mirror. His mechanical right eye emitted a menacing red electronic glow, and the uneven skin tones resembled a fierce scar, adding a touch of maturity and intimidation to his appearance. He lifted his mechanical right arm, flexing and gripping his 5 fingers. Chang Wei could hardly believe it. I've lost my original right eye and arm. I almost died. Ryuskako stood behind Chang Wei, speaking apologetically. General, I had no choice at that time. This was the only way to save you. Chang Wei did not blame the other party. In fact, after experiencing life and death before, he had already understood and comprehended many things. This was not a game. The enemies were not NPCs with sudden lapses in intelligence or any leniency. This was a completely real world. Being able to survive was already enough luck. What more could he wish for? As for what to do when returning to Earth in such a state, at worst, he would bid farewell to his former life and live on the warship from then on. After all, he was already alone and miserable on Earth, with nothing much to miss. With this thought, Chang Wei felt relieved. He turned to Major Ryuskako, offered a few encouraging words, and then inquired about the current situation. 18 hours have passed. Our fleet should be back by now. Have we successfully contacted them? Ryuskako shook his head and replied, Not yet, General. During your unconsciousness, although the power to the signal tower was successfully restarted, the connection locking module's wiring was cut by the IMC personnel, preventing the console from connecting with the signal tower. Naturally, no communication signals have been sent out. However, Major Anderson and Jack Cooper have gone to handle it, and based on the time, they should be close to success, right? Sure enough, just as they were talking, an anomaly appeared at the signal tower. Shortly after, Captain Cole excitedly reported, Cooper, Major, well done. The antenna has been successfully activated. Once you return, we will send information to the fleet. All thanks to you. The communication channel replied, It's what we should do. Before long, Chang Wei saw outside as BT returned with Major Anderson and Cooper, striding back. Just after getting off BT, Jack Cooper and Major Anderson looked at Chang Wei and said in unison, We are glad to see you safe and sound, General. Chang Wei smiled back, You too. All right. No need for excessive condolences. I'm not dead yet. Now, Let us quickly send a signal to the fleet and have them come to pick us up. Major Anderson nodded, then took out a data file from his bag and handed it to Captain Cole. It contained the energy characteristics of the Holy Cabinet and a series of intelligence collections. Captain Cole took the data file without hesitation and started operating on the console. At the same time, he shouted to a technician in another direction, "Hey, can we try again?" "Sir, all systems are normal." Captain Cole nodded and shouted to the other side, "Okay. Grainer activated." "Yes, sir." Communication program initiated. Sending communication. Progress, 25. Continuing to rise. 60. Progress accelerating. As the voices shouted continuously, everyone looked out at the smoke-emitting signal tower, praying in their hearts, hopefully. This time it would succeed. 80. Almost there. Signal strength at maximum. Communication connection ready. At this moment, BT-7274 also connected to the system and reported, "Communication has been sent." Waiting for a response. In fact, everyone was still very anxious, as no one knew whether their fleet still existed or if it had already been completely wiped out by the enemy forces. Captain Cole crossed his arms and looked at the sky, speaking heavily. "I hope there are still people up there." Suddenly, a communication request was promptly connected. "This is the Rebel SRS Marauder Corps. I am Sarah Briggs. Please respond." BT, which was connected to the communication system, became the only bridge for communication between the two parties. "Commander Briggs, this is BT-7274. Protocol 2, uphold the mission. We have important intelligence to submit to the SRS headquarters. And during our operation, we rescued the highest commander of our allied forces, Major General Chong Wei, from enemy-occupied territory, requesting the dispatch of an escort team to safely transport him." As the signal interference crackled, everyone felt their hearts in their throats when a response came back immediately. "Headquarters received. It's great to hear your voice again, BT. Please say hello to Lieutenant Lastimosa for me, and we'll see you soon. Now, immediately provide your coordinates." BT and Cooper fell into silence for a moment. After waiting for a while, Chong Wei and his team saw 3 rebel warships and transport vessels, along with the Huberian and a large number of cruising Viking fighters, floating down from the sky. This scene instantly brought relief to everyone. They were finally safe. Chapter 37, Legion Warfare. BT-7274. According to the data recorder, your original pilot, Lieutenant Lastimosa, has been killed in action? BT stepped forward towards Commander Sarah Briggs, half squatting in front of her as it replied, "Correct, Lieutenant Lastimosa has unfortunately fallen. I am currently establishing a connection with the acting pilot, Jack Cooper, who had no other choice at that time." Commander Sarah Briggs sighed in resignation. She did not expect to learn in an instant that the rebels had lost a legendary pilot. "Understood. I will transfer you to another regular pilot." Upon hearing this, BT-7274's electronic eye flickered, and it immediately rebutted, "Disagree. Jack Cooper is my pilot. Our combat efficiency rating has reached over 90. I request authorization to maintain the current situation." Saying this, before Commander Sarah Briggs could agree, it pushed Jack Cooper into its cockpit. "BTU." Chong Wei saw this scene and smiled as he approached, pleading with Commander Sarah Briggs, "Throughout our journey, we owe our success to the outstanding performances of Jack Cooper and BT. Otherwise, we wouldn't have succeeded." Just as BT said, Jack Cooper is its pilot. Commander Sarah Briggs glanced at Chong Wei, then at BT, sighed deeply while placing her hands on her hips, and finally conceded. "BT, you should be grateful that we are short on manpower and that General Chong Wei is advocating for you. Since that's the case, let's proceed this way." Saying this, she looked up at BT and Jack Cooper in the cockpit, speaking with a firm tone. "Authorization granted. Enjoy having such a titan." With that, she turned and took a data file from a soldier beside her, starting to read it carefully. Jack Cooper, who had been recognized as Iron Horse, sat in BT's cockpit and said joyfully, "Thank you, sir." "Thank you, General." Commander Sarah Briggs did not look back. Instead, while reading the file in her hand, she addressed the people around her. "Thanks to your steadfast commitment to the mission, we obtained the scan data of the Arkansas. This finally led us to find the IMC's stronghold on Typhon. Time is of the essence. We must eliminate them before they can call in or relocate the Ark. Let us go." Jack Cooper gave a thumbs up, as happy as a child. "Yes, sir." As the cockpit door closed, the lights suddenly dimmed. Jack Cooper sat quietly inside and said softly, "BT, I'm here. How should I put this? Well, thank you." As the transport ship ascended, Chong Wei also returned to the Huberian with his troops. The equipment had been delivered to the armory, and Swan would repair it. The hardcase unit had achieved success this time. Chong Wei decided not only to promote them, but also to equip them with more powerful Reaver heavy mechs. After this rescue mission, if Swan could obtain the Titan blueprints, Chong Wei planned to develop the hardcase unit into a mobile Titan force. For now, the war was not over. Everyone would take a brief rest in the cabin while heading to the IMC stronghold, preparing for a decisive battle. Although the Resistance forces and Chang Wei's fleet had previously engaged the IMC fleet in low Earth orbit around Typhon and had gained a considerable advantage, the enemy's fleet was not completely annihilated. Therefore, to fight for ultimate air superiority and to cover the ground forces in their assault on the IMC stronghold, Chang Wei would command the Huberian and the Cybertron arc together with the Resistance's 9th Fleet to confront the IMC's main fleet head-on. Meanwhile, Sarah Briggs would descend to the ground in her exclusive Titan, acting as the overall commander of the ground forces. To coordinate this assault, Chang Wei would also send his ground troops to work alongside the Resistance forces. At that time, they could show the IMC what the power of the mechanized army of the interstellar conflict looked like. Time quickly passed, and after the fleet intentionally avoided the enemy's radar scans, traveling 600 kilometers at low altitude through the mountains, they finally approached the battlefield for the decisive confrontation. In an instant, the IMC alarms and anti-aircraft fire erupted simultaneously. The battle was about to commence. At this moment, the Titans in the rebel warship's hangar were fully prepared. Even Major Anderson, who had lost his Titan during a mission, received a brand new Vanguard-class Titan. Their expressions were grim and silent, each person sitting in the cockpit of their own Titan, quietly awaiting the imminent attack order. The intense vibrations of the ship and the flashing yellow warning lights made it clear that battle had already begun outside, and it was fierce. As Iron pilots, they would not be used as cannon fodder, but would instead seek the most suitable opportunity to drop in, break through the enemy's defenses, and strike at the heart of the enemy. Sarah Briggs piloted her Titan to the central position of the hangar, surveying everyone while delivering an inspiring pre-battle speech. Listen up. The IMC has developed a weapon that can fold space and time, capable of destroying an entire planet. But as long as we seize its core energy source, it will turn into scrap metal. Therefore, we must get it before the enemy withdraws. Do you all understand your mission and responsibilities? Raider Legion, prepare to strike. Titanfall, prepare for. With a resounding crash, the Titans launched from high above in a cascade. Among them were Jack Cooper and BT-7274, activating impact cushioning. We are in rapid descent. Iron pilot, prepare for impact. Jack Cooper looked steadfastly at the rapidly descending scene, his expression resolute. We will survive. BT. Boom. They landed safely, raising clouds of dust. The thunderous sound of impact was truly earth-shattering. As the rebel Titans descended with unmatched momentum, the Allied communication channels erupted with excited cheers. Look, it's our Iron pilots. The main force is here. This battle will determine our fate, brothers. The IMC has no soldiers left to fight. Charge. Use cover wisely. Don't stand foolishly in the fire zone. And let us not embarrass our allied forces. Let us show our strength. Go. As the rebel Titan forces advanced, rows of siege tanks at the rear began to transform into attack mode, roaring toward the IMC's defensive fortifications. On the bridge of the ship, Chang Wei glanced at the battle below and then lost interest as the fight in the sky and near orbit officially commenced. He was unaware that his mindset was gradually transforming. Calmly looking ahead, he waved his hand decisively. Hesperian, target straight ahead, fire the main cannon. Then, the Viking fighter squadron began their assault. Chapter 38. Pursuit of the Dragon Star as Jack Cooper, Major Anderson, and Commander Sarah Briggs led the mechanized Legion of Humanity in a fierce assault on the IMC's stronghold on the ground. Battles erupted in the skies and low orbit around the planet. Hibernian, target straight ahead, fire the main cannon. Soon after, the Viking fighter squadron began their aggressive maneuvers. Before long, the main fleets of both sides lined up against each other. Chang Wei stood on the bridge of the Hibernian, gazing out at the vast expanse of space. He and the rebel 9th Fleet formed a neat tactical formation to provide cover as they advanced. Coupled with the fierce interspersed and thrusting attacks from various rebel combat ships and the Viking squadron, they created a stunning display. A tense atmosphere enveloped the battlefield, with both sides showcasing their formidable power. The main fleet of the IMC consisted of a group of well-trained mercenaries who could unleash unparalleled courage and fighting spirit as long as the pay was right. The massive numbers on both sides loomed like a terrifying shadow over the entire planet. Intense exchanges of fire and beams unleashed devastating firepower, with various energy weapons illuminating the chaotic battlefield, tearing apart the hulls of ships from both sides. The Viking squadron navigated through the interwoven chaos of gunfire, engaging in fierce aerial combat. Missiles launched one after another, exploding in brilliant flames upon striking the enemy, leaving a trail of fiery destruction in their wake. They were agile, fast, and powerful, with each aircraft equipped with advanced technology from the Terran race, making them swift and lethal on the battlefield. The Hibernian itself was a steel behemoth with exceptional protection and firepower. Its armor was so robust that it could withstand a direct confrontation with the cosmic warships of other factions. Additionally, it possessed an all-around shield similar to those used by other advanced units. However, due to its high energy consumption, this shield was not activated lightly. But once it was, it became a nightmare for the IMC fleet, charging through concentrated fire and striking directly. Thus, in this world, although Chang Wei's fleet was small in number, it exerted overwhelming technological superiority over the IMC, leading to heavy losses for them and almost turning the tide of battle in favor of Chang Wei. Clearly, the IMC understood this, but they did not expect to win. Their goal was simply to hold the enemy back, allowing the ground forces to relocate the sacred cabinet and buy time. As long as they achieved strategic victory in the end, their sacrifices would be meaningful, even if that meaning came at a steep cost. Commander, they are stalling for time. Captain Matt Horner of the Hibernian noticed the enemy's intentions and immediately alerted Chang Wei. Having observed Matt Horner's command style in several battles, Chang Wei had developed a certain war intuition. He quickly ordered, activate the shields on the Hibernian and charge forward. Tell the 9th Fleet to follow closely behind us. We will transform into a sharp blade, tearing apart the IMC fleet formation. Soon, Chang Wei led the fleet charging towards the enemy while utilizing massive orbital cannons and thermal beams to deliver devastating salvos. Despite the IMC fleet's desperate resistance, continuously launching a barrage of missiles, lasers, and energy beams, they still could not halt the fierce assault from Chang Wei and his forces. Countless explosions dazzled the eye and flashed brightly, with numerous ships beginning to sink amidst the roar and fury of battle. The two fleets intertwined, with intense gunfire illuminating the entire expanse of space. The bombardment from energy cannons was deafening, and the aerial dogfights between fighter jets were thrilling and perilous. This led to a sudden acceleration in the battle's pace, directly reaching its climax. The IMC fleet continued to resist tenaciously, but Chang Wei's side held a clear advantage. They leveraged the strengths of their ships and ingenious tactics to continuously breach the IMC defensive lines, sinking enemy vessels one after another. The ferocious weapon attacks invigorated the entire battlefield, with explosions and flames constantly erupting in space. The once solid enemy formation had been shattered to pieces by Chang Wei's sharp charge. Victory was within reach. However, just as the battle seemed on the brink of conclusion, the IMC fleet appeared to receive some sort of order, splitting off a portion to escape while leaving the other part to make a stubborn last stand. What are they doing? Soon, Chang Wei received a message from the ground. This is Sarah Briggs. We have taken down the IMC stronghold and eliminated the top hunters, Ken and Richter, who were stationed there. But we are a step too late. The enemy has already transferred the Ark, and the Dragon Star has taken off right under our noses. We must intercept it. Repeat, we must intercept the Dragon Star. Fleet, come quickly to pick us up. We need to chase after it. After hearing this message, Chang Wei's expression darkened. Are we about to reach the final act? BT will also soon be in danger, opting for Protocol 3, protect the pilot, ultimately sacrificing himself to destroy the Arkansas. To be honest, the reward for the mission to save BT was too generous, and Chang Wei did not want the tragedy from the game to repeat itself. Therefore, rather than waiting until the last moment to act, it would be better to seize the opportunity now to obtain the Ark and save BT at the same time. However, the battle in space was still ongoing, and the ship, the Sharon, could not leave easily. Otherwise, the Resistance fleet would suffer more casualties, which contradicted Chang Wei's goal of saving everyone. But if he were to leave the rescue to the 9th Fleet and others, Chang Wei felt it was too risky. Thus, he had to take action personally. Yet this time, having experienced painful lessons, he would never act alone. Matt, do we have any extra troops available? Matt Horner was taken aback, looking at Chang Wei in confusion. Commander, our Air Force units have all been deployed and are engaged in fierce battles with the enemy fleet. Even the mechanized ground forces have not yet returned after assisting in the earlier assault on the enemy stronghold. May I ask if there are any troubles encountered? Chang Wei truthfully addressed Matt Horner's concerns, explaining that now is the perfect opportunity to rescue BT and Jack Cooper, and to seize the Holy Grail. After a moment of thought, Matt Horner promptly responded to Chang Wei. Commander, the only available troops on the Hesperian are a group of riflemen, which clearly does not meet your operational requirements. However, in the bar, those money-hungry mercenaries might be able to provide you with additional support. As for the funds to hire them, you need not worry, Commander. During the fight against the enemy, we confiscated a large number of energy batteries and synthetic metals, which are quite valuable and can be sold for a good amount of money, likely enough to cover their contracts. Additionally, Swan has likely finished the repairs using the medical technology from the Cybertron Arkansas. Moreover, some ships from the 9th Fleet have just been dispatched to pursue the enemy. May I ask, Commander, when will you depart? Chang Wei nodded solemnly and replied, time is of the essence. This concerns the success or failure of our rescue mission. We must set off immediately. I will go find those mercenaries to sign the contracts. Chapter 39 Agreement 3, Protect Iron Horse. On Typhon. During the Resistance's pursuit of the Dragon Star, They encountered a surprise attack from the elite hunter, the Polaris Viper. After a series of arduous battles, although they dealt with the Viper, Major Anderson and his Vanguard Titan were severely injured. While he was not dead, it was clear he could no longer continue the mission. Listen, Cooper. You must complete the mission. Do not hesitate. Do not stop. You are Iron Horse. Since there is no road ahead, then carve out your own path. Hearing Major Anderson's desperate roar over the communication channel, Jack Cooper held back his tears and solidified his resolve. BT, let's go. Agreement 2. Hold the mission. Cooper. The Dragon Star is right in front of us. I must throw you over. Seize the Holy Grail. Come on. Let us end this. As Jack Cooper stood in BT's grasp, BT began calculating the wind resistance, distance, and angle. Just then, the escorting resistance ships seemed to have discovered something and suddenly shouted, "Evade to the right. Be careful." Jack Cooper's pupils widened in shock as he saw that the Polaris Viper, which had just been shot down, was not dead and was now charging towards BT. BT, watch out. Boom. It was too fast. There was no time to react. The Polaris Viper grabbed BT along with Jack Cooper and lifted them into the sky, seemingly intending to throw them to their deaths. The 4-ion jet flames behind it provided the Polaris with immense thrust, making its actions appear extremely reckless. Let go of BT. Jack Cooper raised his weapon and continuously fired at the Titan of the Viper in the chaotic air. But how could such attacks penetrate the Titan's armor? The Viper, hearing Jack Cooper's roar, also vented his emotions. I can't let you survive, because I am a top-tier hunter. I am also a role model for my daughter. As the two Titans struggled and fought in the air, Jack Cooper was flung away, crashing directly onto the deck of the Dragon Star from over 30 meters high. The violent impact nearly caused Jack Cooper to spit out blood. Every muscle and bone in his body seemed to be crying out in pain, and the intense agony left him unable to get up for a long time. Boom. Another loud noise erupted. Both Titans lost their balance and fell from the sky, crashing onto the deck not far from Cooper, tumbling over. Protocol 3. Protect Iron Will. BT looked at Cooper, who lay motionless on the ground, and his entire body went into a frenzy. Without any hesitation, he flipped over and got up, bending his knees like a hungry tiger pouncing on its prey, and engaged in battle with the Viper once again. With another short-distance leap and spin, the two Titans ascended into the air again, only to plummet back down. This time, the Viper gained the upper hand, completely pinning BT beneath him and severing his mechanical left arm. If I valued my life, would I come back to hunt you down? At the moment the explosive fire erupted on BT, Jack Cooper gritted his teeth and climbed up in anger. He charged towards the Viper's Titan recklessly while firing his rifle and roaring madly. Viper. The Viper ignored this ineffective attack and retreated a distance, activating its flight core, preparing to finish off BT completely. Don't rush. First, take down your Titan. Then it will be your turn. However, before he could boast for 3 seconds, the fragile hatch design of the Polaris could not withstand the pressure from the previous intense battle and suddenly exploded. The flight core was also disrupted, crashing onto BT. Seeing this, BT seized the opportunity and firmly restrained the Viper's Titan. At the same time, he reminded Jack Cooper, shoot. Cooper, aim for the cockpit. Jack Cooper gritted his teeth and fired. Damn it. Why the cockpit again? Why now? Bang, 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 bang. The Viper, hit by multiple shots, gasped for breath and rolled off the Titan. In his last moments, he was still calling out his daughter's name, Kelly. Finally, the enemy was taken down. BT also got up at this moment and gave Jack Cooper a thumbs up. Well done, Cooper. Unconsciously, BT no longer referred to him as Iron Will. A spark of humanity slowly emerged within him. Are you okay, BT? My left arm is severely damaged, but fortunately, I can still operate. The Dragon Star is rapidly descending. We need to accelerate, Cooper. As BT crackled with exposed wires and flames, it unsteadily approached a hatch on the deck and forcibly opened it. Pointing inside, it said, "We can go down here. We should be able to find the Ark quickly." At this moment, the intelligent alarm of the ship was blaring from within. Warning! Warning! Hull severely damaged. All personnel please proceed to escape pods and abandon ship immediately. They did not hesitate and quickly crawled inside. Upon entering, they saw a group of terrified IMC riflemen fleeing. Jack Cooper and BT ignored them and continued moving down the corridor. They detected an energy response ahead, confirming it was the cargo hold containing the Arkansas. They had finally found it. Warning. Altitude has dropped to 7,000 meters. Personnel remaining. Please quickly board the escape pods and abandon ship. The raging flames, the blasting airflow, the violent tremors, and the piercing alarms did not waver their will and determination. They ultimately secured the Ark, but missed the best chance to escape. With a loud explosion, the exit was instantly blocked. Seeing this, BT dragged its damaged body to protect Jack Cooper beneath it, knowing they could not escape and the ship was about to crash. What are you doing, BT? Protocol 3. Protect the pilot. Forget the protocols. Get the Ark out of here. Negative, we are trapped. I will not lose another pilot. Prepare for collision avoidance measures. Just as they fell into silence and despair, a laser suddenly blasted a massive hole in the ceiling above them. The voice of Chong Wei echoed from above. The Draken laser drill is quite powerful. All right, BT, Cooper, how long are you going to stay there? There is no time. Quickly grab the hook that Tian Tian is throwing down. We need to go. Is that Chong Wei and Tian Tian? They're here to save us. Hurry. There is no time. In a swift motion, BT and Jack Cooper lunged and simultaneously caught the hook that Tian Tian extended. They then realized that the surrounding scene was plunging downward. Before long, they were pulled out into the outside world through the large hole in the ceiling. It turned out they weren't being pulled out. The ship was crashing down. They were merely hanging suspended on the hook. With a thunderous crash, the ship made violent contact with the ground, instantly shattering into pieces, flames shooting into the sky. It was hard to imagine what would have happened if they had still been there. Jack Cooper swallowed hard and said, BT, did we survive? BT blinked its adorable electronic eye and replied seriously, based on the current environment and battle conditions, we have a 99% chance of survival. Oh, what about the remaining one? The remaining one is that we could fall from the hook, causing physical damage. Jack Cooper couldn't help but laugh when he heard it. BT, I didn't expect you to learn how to joke too. Haha, negative. My programming dictates that I never joke, unless I can't help it. Ha, ha, ha. Chong Wei sat in the cockpit of the Titan, looking at BT and Cooper, who had been rescued, and he let out a sigh of relief. Fortunately, I wasn't too late. If BT had followed the original plot and ended up in trouble, then my trip to this world would have been for nothing. Although I would love to have such a warm-hearted Titan, BT ultimately belongs to Jack Cooper. But speaking of which, isn't there still a Sloan among the top hunters? That guy piloted an Ion Titan before and almost killed me with a laser cannon. Now my mechanical right eye and right arm are thanks to her. If I remember correctly, she should be nearby. Just as Chong Wei was pondering, a prompt sounded in his mind. Rescue Jack Cooper, reward 1,000 task points. Task completed. Rescue Major Anderson, reward 1,000 task points. Task completed. Rescue BT 7274, reward 5,000 task points. Task completed. Due to the host's appearance, 20 border-resistant ships that were supposed to be lost have survived, earning 100 task points for each surviving ship. Total, 2,000 task points. The IMC's conspiracy has been thwarted. World task completed. Reward 3,000 task points. Total obtained, 12,000 task points. The host and their team may stay in this world for a maximum of 24 hours. After 24 hours, the system will enforce a return. Would you like to return now? Chong Wei paused for a second before snapping back to reality and firmly refused. Are you kidding? If I return now, BT and Jack Cooper hanging on the hook will fall from the sky, and that one chance will come true. Besides, I haven't finished my personal matters yet. Sloan should be nearby. And most importantly, after a battle, how can there be no distribution of spoils? The IMC stronghold still has so many energy reserves, weapons, ammunition, industrial materials, strategic supplies, etc. Shouldn't the resistance get half of that and take it with them? As allies, Sarah Briggs should have no objections. Thinking of this, Chong Wei issued orders to the mercenaries guarding around. I'll send the people back first. You continue to look for that guy named Sloan nearby. Remember, you can take out all her subordinates, but leave her to me to handle personally. If you find someone named Cuban Brisk, capture him for me. I have use for him. Understood, boss. Your word is law. Soon, 4 Duskwings and 6 Hell Angels, led by the battleship Jackson's Revenge, began to scout the area near the crash site of the Dragon. During this time, Chong Wei took the opportunity to ride the Titan and return BT and Jack Cooper to the Resistance's warship. BT was heavily damaged, but when its cockpit door opened, the bright and dazzling Holy Cabinet immediately delighted everyone. Well done, BT, Cooper. You have made a great contribution this time. In response to Commander Sarah Briggs' praise, Jack Cooper humbly replied, this time, if it weren't for the rescue by General Chong Wei, we wouldn't have succeeded so smoothly. The militia really played a significant role in this battle on Typhon. Thank you all. Chong Wei walked over and patted Jack Cooper on the shoulder, saying, there's no need to underestimate yourself, Cooper. My life was also saved thanks to you. You are already a truly outstanding pilot. Everyone should be proud of you. And BT is a great Titan. You must cherish it. I will, General. Jack Cooper nodded seriously, then looked at BT and whispered with a smile, don't worry, BT. I'm not going anywhere. Cooper, you are my pilot, and you always will be. After sending off BT and Cooper to heal and repair, Sarah Briggs turned to Chong Wei and said, General Chong Wei, thank you and your troops for helping us. But if I may be so bold, may I ask where you are from? How do you possess such advanced technology? We have never heard of this before. Are you planning to settle on the border? Could we invite you to join our border resistance? Together, we can work to protect the peace and prosperity of the Border Star region. Chong Wei replied with a smile. Commander Briggs, I appreciate your kindness. Where we are from is a sensitive question, and I'm afraid I cannot answer that. But one thing is certain. We will be leaving soon, and perhaps we want to return. To commemorate our friendship forged in battle, I think we should discuss the distribution of the spoils. What do you think? Sarah Briggs smiled slightly. Of course. That is only natural. As they reached a consensus, good news came from Chong Wei's interstellar mercenaries. Boss, this group of IMC mercenaries is too easy to defeat. We traced their communications line and followed them to another base, completely taking it down. That woman and a man named Cooper Brisk have been captured. Do you want to come and see now? Chapter 41. Return. The battle in the near orbit of Typhon had come to an end. Chong Wei assigned the tasks of cleaning up the battlefield, recalling troops, and handling the subsequent distribution of spoils to Matt Horner, with only one requirement. Everything must be completed within 24 hours. Now, after politely declining Sarah Briggs' invitation once more, Chong Wei boarded his ship to visit the interstellar mercenaries. The location was a heavily damaged IMC base, littered with the bodies of numerous IMC mercenaries and their titans. Standing among the corpses and wreckage were a group of interstellar mercenaries who had contracted with Chong Wei. They are composed of 12 elite ground troops known as war pigs, 4 elite firebats forming the hellhounds, 4 elite raiders making up the hammer security, 4 elite Goliath-armed robots constituting the Spartan squad, and 4 elite siege tanks known as the breakers. They all landed on the ground aboard the Vengeance of Jackson, and under the firepower cover of the Wings of Dusk, Hell Angels, and the Vengeance of Jackson, they overwhelmed the garrison troops at the IMC base. This also proves, from another perspective, that there is a significant difference among mercenaries. This group of interstellar mercenaries led by Chong Wei fought the IMC mercenaries as if future warriors were battling modern humans. The IMC stood no chance. At this moment, Sloan and Cuban Brisk had been escorted before Chong Wei and knelt down. They realized that they should have killed him instead of trying to capture him. Upon seeing Chong Wei's mechanical right eye and arm, Sloan knew that there was no escape for her. Therefore, her tone became particularly defiant in her final moments. Chong Wei said nothing but slowly walked towards her. He then extended his mechanical right arm and suddenly slapped her face. The sound echoed. The force was so great that it knocked 2 of her teeth out, leaving her mouth filled with blood. The elite ground troops escorting her immediately stepped forward to restrain her, covering her mouth to prevent her from biting her tongue to death and to stop her from spitting at Chong Wei. Despite being restrained, Sloan struggled desperately but couldn't utter a single word. Her originally arrogant demeanor shifted to a fierce glare, as if she wanted to swallow Chong Wei whole. After experiencing this life-and-death situation, Chong Wei, having lost his right eye and hand, had undergone a significant change in character. He could joke and express gratitude towards his subordinates and friends, but he would never show mercy to enemies, especially those who sought to end his life. Of course, Chong Wei was not the type to gloat over his enemies or intentionally humiliate and torment them. He would give them the ending they deserved. Sloan, you are a true mercenary, born for money and destined to die for money. That's only right. Therefore, your final fate should be to die in your Titan's cockpit. Saying this, Chong Wei waved his hand and, without further ado, ordered the elite ground troops to forcibly drag her away and stuff her into the already wrecked Ion Titan cockpit nearby. Still wanting to struggle and crawl out? Impossible. Just as Sloan crawled to the cockpit door, she was pushed back into her seat by the 6-barreled gun held by Tian Tian, with the massive barrel blocking the cockpit door. No. Sloan's expression turned to one of terror at the scene before her. But Tian Tian would not care for her. As the gun began to spin, a series of metallic storm clanging sounds and flashing sparks erupted from the cockpit. There was no need to guess what Sloan's fate would be. Chong Wei then turned his head to look at Cuban Brisk, who was kneeling on the other side, and asked, "Are you the leader of that top hunter?" Cuban Brisk smiled and replied, "As you can see, I'm just a mercenary. Now that the Holy Vault has been lost, our contract with the relevant organization has ended. If possible, you could also hire me, General. The price is negotiable, otherwise, just killing me won't benefit you at all." This seemed reasonable. Chong Wei smirked and said, "All right, I'll hire you for 50 credits. Don't think it's too little. My good brothers are all getting that rate. If you find it insulting, you can choose to die instead." Cuban Brisk was momentarily speechless, but for the sake of his life, he ultimately agreed. Of course, trust in this guy wouldn't come easily. Everything would depend on his future performance. After all, he might need to rely on him to help train an elite mech unit later on. Once everything was settled, Chong Wei led his troops back to the ship, waiting to return. The gains from this mission were substantial. Not only had they completed all tasks and earned 12,000 mission points, but they also acquired a massive amount of loot. This loot could be used for research and upgrades, sold for money, or used to produce the necessary equipment, ammunition, and arms, etc. Plus, with the help of the Ark, loading everything was a breeze. As expected, upon arriving at the armory, Swan was as happy as a child. showcasing his findings to Chong Wei. Hey, kid, I got the manufacturing blueprints for the Vanguard-class Titan from a new friend. Although it's much less advanced than our technology. With a bit of modification and using our techniques, it could become a decent new unit. Chong Wei's eye twitched. Swan was impressive, making friends wherever he went. Haha, you really worked hard on that. Oh, by the way, your Draken laser drill is great, but it's too heavy. I welded it onto Jackson's Revenge earlier, due to time constraints. You might need to take it off yourself. With that, Chong Wei quickly made his escape before Swan could get angry and grab a wrench. Afterward, Chong Wei went to the laboratory where Steidman was located. Steidman was an ambitious young scientist who, in the game storyline of a certain popular series, was known for creating the mechanical swarm. Upon seeing Chong Wei's arrival, Steidman immediately approached him and reported, "Sir, we have results. Based on the backup files you sent back, the core data of the Holy Vault has been fully analyzed. We have a good chance of manufacturing it and, conditions permitting, starting experiments on the space-time folding weapon." Chong Wei nodded, praising Steidman, and said, "Well done. But the weapon experiments aren't urgent right now. We can take our time after we return." "Understood, General." Soon, the 24-hour mark would be reached. Before leaving, Chong Wei put on a grand show in front of the rebels. "Until next time, everyone, the border will one day return to peace through your efforts." Suddenly, a flash of white light appeared. Chong Wei's fleet vanished without a trace right in front of the eyes of the rebels. "Commander Sarah Briggs, we did not detect any spatial distortion waves. Their technology is too advanced. We cannot trace where they went." Sarah Briggs fell silent, her gaze deep and thoughtful, unable to speak for a long time. Chapter 42. Seeking assistance from netizens with a flash of white light, Chong Wei found himself back in his farmhouse courtyard. Looking at himself, with his right hand covered in a biological camouflage coating, he ultimately chose not to sever ties with his original world. Who could have predicted such a significant accident would occur during the second rescue mission? His right eye and hand were gone, replaced with a mechanical prosthetic. Moreover, the cellular genes in the injured area had undergone abnormal proliferation and division due to the injury, making it impossible for the medical technology of the Tyran race to regenerate the severed limb. However, Chong Wei did not dwell on it too much. He took it as a lesson to remind himself that he was not that special. A moment of carelessness could lead to death. With a sigh, Chong Wei began to observe his surroundings. After the previous experience, he felt neither lost nor panicked. Instead, he first checked the doors, windows, and clock of his house to confirm if anything unusual had happened during his absence. The doors and windows were tightly shut, and there were no signs of a break-in. However, the clock showed only 2 hours had passed, but he clearly remembered that the time spent in the Starship Trooper's world was about the same as before his return. Perplexed, Chong Wei immediately called the system to inquire about what was happening. The system quickly provided an answer. "Host, the flow of time differs between universes to accommodate the host's normal life in the original world. The system has anchored the time point in this world and tried to match the flow of time with that of the mission world. Without this time anchoring, the host might return after a task and find that millions of years have passed. Such environmental changes could lead to the host's unexpected demise. According to the system's underlying logic algorithms, we must prevent such incidents from occurring." After hearing the system's explanation, Chong Wei broke into a cold sweat. He could already imagine returning from a mission only to find himself caught in radiation rain or standing in a sea of lava. That would be disastrous. "So I should thank you then." The system's expression was notably straightforward and concise. "Host, no need to thank me. This is my duty." Not bothering to comment further on the system, Chong Wei opened the system panel to check the rewards from this mission, in addition to a large amount of loot. He also gained 12,000 task points. This was key to becoming stronger. If he continued to purchase battleship slots, he should be able to buy 2 this time, which would cost a total of 10,000 task points. The remaining 2,000 task points can be used to purchase hero units or summon customized warships. As a fleet commander, the quantity and quality of warships are of utmost importance. Therefore, in order to increase the number of warships, even though the cost of slots continues to rise, Chong Wei grits his teeth and decides to make the purchase. However, he is torn between whether to recruit warships randomly or through selection. Random recruitment indeed has an element of gamble. Perhaps a lucky draw could bring a big surprise. But after the experience with the Cybertron Ark, Chong Wei is hesitant to take such risks. The Cybertron Ark, an antique transformer ship, performed poorly during the entire battle at Typhon Star. It could only hover on the outskirts, and with just a few missiles fired at it, its external armor shattered significantly. It's hard to believe that it could be damaged by missiles from 21st century humans. Aside from being slightly larger, having a longer detection range, and being able to transport more supplies, it hardly deserves the title of a warship. To put it bluntly, it's merely a transformer immigrant transport ship. Isn't that ridiculous? It's like selling dog meat under the guise of lamb. Is this really worthy of being called a warship? Indeed. The idea of spending $2 to win a 5 million jackpot only exists in legends. For those without luck, there's no point in dreaming. Since he doesn't dare to gamble anymore, Chang Wei has no choice but to spend 500 task points for a selected recruitment. However, he needs to think carefully about which warship to choose, so he decides not to rush into a decision. He plans to visit an internet cafe to seek advice from the knowledgeable netizens in the forums. Chapter 43. Recruitment of Toshi. As the saying goes, one person's plan is short, while two people's plan is long. With the help of those imaginative and broad-minded netizens, he believes that posting this question in the forum will provide him with ample suggestions and insights. Otherwise, simply relying on his own preferences and randomly selecting could lead to a situation where he ends up with a mismatched fleet that affects overall strength. Before heading out to the internet cafe, Chang Wei decides to recruit a hero unit to act as his personal bodyguard. After experiencing the world of Titanfall 2, he realizes that he is quite weak. Without a hero unit like Jack Cooper or an armed legion to protect him, he is likely to meet his end. Therefore, considering his safety, Chang Wei decides to spend 500 task points to recruit a hero unit. This will not only provide protection in the task world, but also assist him with troublesome matters on Earth. It's worth noting that Chang Wei's system is not the type that can harness immense power to dominate everything. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so cautious. After glancing at the system panel, Chang Wei quickly focuses on the two units, Ghost Nova and Phantom Toshi, mainly due to their stealth capabilities. Both are highly skilled interstellar human agents. Both are powerful users of psionic energy, and both possess the ability to become permanently invisible. This makes them excellent choices whether to serve as bodyguards or to be dispatched on covert missions. After pondering for a moment, Chang Wei finally made a decision. Unexpectedly, I also encountered a situation similar to a choice in the game's storyline. So it's you, Tosh. In the campaign mode of this game, players receive two requests. By choosing Tosh, players will help his ghostly friends escape from a prison. Choosing Nova, the dog of Arcturus, means assisting her in causing destruction within the facility, including destroying phosphorus storage, hydrogen gas tanks, and psionic wave injectors. Chang Wei chose Tosh mainly because of the influence of the game's plot, knowing their character and each of their special skills and abilities. First, Tosh has abilities like permanent invisibility, mind blast, psionic shield, health absorption, and nuclear bomb throwing. The mind blast, in particular, is very practical. In the game, it has no cooldown time, and as long as there is enough psionic energy, it can be used freely. It is an area of effect skill that can deal damage to enemy units and also destroy buildings. This makes Tosh a powerful presence capable of both offense and survival, especially useful when outnumbered. In contrast, Nova lacks area damage skills compared to Tosh, but she has a long-range instant kill sniper skill and a control skill to manipulate enemies, making her a single-target assassin-type hero. Moreover, most of her other abilities are realized through advanced weaponry, which is rather underwhelming for Chang Wei. Additionally, he is not the type to be swayed by beauty alone. Most players who choose Nova do so based on her appearance, thinking Tosh looks fierce and unattractive. However, if you choose Tosh, you will find that his inner self is not as unpleasant as his exterior suggests. He is quite a compassionate guy. He cares about the future of humanity and desires freedom, much like Raynor. On the other hand, if you choose Nova, you might realize you've been played. She is a character who will use you and then leave. In short, it's like this. Although you helped me before, I will still handle business matters now. What is the difference if I spent 150 million to help you pay off debts, and you just call me a good person in the end? After receiving the good person card, players will discover that despite their efforts, they end up with nothing to show for it. Nova will just walk away after using you. In the realization, it turns out the fool was me all along. This is exactly what Chang Wei dislikes. Conversely, choosing Tosh means he will not only join you, but also teach you how to fight and help train the ghosts. Even in the final moments of crisis, he will stand by your side. He will never betray you. From the various expressions in the game's storyline, it's clear that Toshi's intellect surpasses Nova's by a significant margin. At least he doesn't cause trouble like she does. Especially during Nova's covert operations, it becomes evident that she is quite the liability, even triggering a crisis with the swarm invasion. Having a teammate who brings such chaos nearby makes Chang Wei uneasy. Who knows, he might end up getting harmed one day. Therefore, after careful consideration, Chang Wei ultimately chose Toshi. Soon, a tall, invisible figure slowly materialized before Chang Wei. Speaking in a deep tone, choice is the only freedom we have. Since you have chosen me, I will not let you down. Now, tell me, who should I eliminate? Chang Wei felt a powerful aura emanating from the figure, momentarily becoming entranced. However, being someone familiar with grand scenes, he quickly regained his composure. Toshi, I am Chang Wei. From now on, we are companions. Your primary task is to protect me, and if necessary, there will be other missions for you. Toshi, with his pale eyes and hair swirling with ethereal energy, looked at Chang Wei, flipping a butterfly knife and smirking coolly. There's no need to explain too much. I understand everything relevant. Now, I will begin my work. As he spoke, Toshi vanished into an invisible state right before Chong Wei's eyes. Mysterious, powerful, confident, and succinct. Chong Wei glanced around for a few seconds and tried calling out, "Toshi, are you there? I'm behind you." A low and eerie voice suddenly came from behind Chong Wei, sending chills down his spine. If this guy were to engage in assassination, no one in this world would survive his hands. With this thought, Chong Wei felt reassured, as if a voice in his heart echoed. "I have Zhao Zilong from Changshan. Who dares to kill me?" Chapter 44. We have work to do. Chong Wei arrived at the internet cafe in town, booted up a computer, and posted a thread stating, "If one day you possess a multiverse rescue system and board the Hesperian to execute rescue missions across various worlds, which sci-fi warships should you recruit to enhance your fleet's survival and mission capabilities?" Once the post was made, no one replied immediately. After all, such nonsensical hypothetical questions only interested those who were bored. Well, let us wait and see. The system hasn't issued any rescue tasks yet. It's a time for rest and preparation. Chong Wei didn't go home, but stayed at the cafe, playing games like PUBG and League of Legends. During his gaming session, he discovered an issue. His mechanical right eye, in these esports games, acted like a radar scanner, allowing him to clearly perceive all blurred and dynamic objects. The moment anything stirred, he could immediately detect it. Then, from a distance of 800 meters, he took a shot with a 98K sniper rifle and knocked out the opponent's head. It's impressive that even the drop point of the shots can be calculated so accurately. The most exaggerated part is the recoil control. A gun that originally had a strong recoil is now almost perfectly controlled by my mechanical right hand, making the bullet trajectory nearly a single point. Wow, am I going to be mistaken for a tech wizard? 1 kill, 10 kills, 20 kills, 30 kills. Just like that, I charged through, killing anyone in my way, and was about to secure my victory when suddenly the screen went black and a message popped up. Data anomaly detected. Your game account has been banned. Chong Wei was speechless. It seemed the game's detection mechanism was a joke, just like when players were forcibly kicked in that old shooting game. Can't handle losing. Chong Wei exited the battle royale and logged into another game. With the enhancements of his mechanical right eye and hand, his movement as an AD was incredibly fluid, dodging skills like a script, making the opposing players look foolish. At that moment, a certain streamer in a live chat exploded, calling out that if the opposing AD wasn't using a script, then he would immediately stand on his head. Don't ask why. Just trust the instincts of the #1 player in that region. After so many matches, how could I not tell if it was a script? Before long, due to numerous reports from fans, Chong Wei was suddenly kicked out of the game again. Security system alert. The system has detected that you are using illegal third-party plugins, disrupting game fairness. This is considered cheating and has seriously violated the competitive principles of the game. We will impose a ban on your account until August 21st, 2039. At 21:19. Chong Wei couldn't hold back and started cursing. What kind of ridiculous detection mechanism is this? I just swapped out for a new eye and arm. Do they really have to target me like this? Forget it, I'm done. Chong Wei exited the game and opened a forum, only to find no replies, feeling quite disappointed. As if sensing his frustration, the invisible Toshi sent a message to Chong Wei, teasingly asking, "Should I trace the connection and take out the person who banned your account?" Chong Wei was taken aback, realizing it was Toshi's mental message, and casually replied, "No need, it's just a game. There's no reason to get worked up." Those who explode in anger over a game and resort to insults are just reflecting their real-life character. If they can't handle this little setback, how will they cope with bigger challenges? Toshi chuckled softly and said, "Oh, so you mean you can handle setbacks well?" Chong Wei replied ambiguously, "While I may not compare to the greats who have endured much and still stand tall, I believe I'm above the average in society. After all, I once accepted my late-stage cancer diagnosis with composure, and now I've lost an arm and an eye, but I haven't been defeated. I don't harbor resentment, because only the strong can live a more extraordinary life." Tuasu remained silent this time, nodding silently at Chong Wei. Just as Chong Wei was about to browse a website to check out trending videos, his phone suddenly rang. When he picked it up, he was surprised to see that the caller was his childhood friend, Zhong Kai. Isn't this guy supposed to have started working after graduating high school? Why is he contacting me now? He shouldn't know about my cancer diagnosis yet, right? Hello, is this Chong Wei? As soon as the call connected, Chong Wei heard his friend's familiar voice. "Zhong Kai, ever since you went to find a job, it's like you vanished off the face of the earth. What? Now you remember me?" On the other end, Zhong Kai laughed heartily. "Hey, what are you talking about? I haven't settled into my job yet. I've been so busy making money that I barely had time. Now that I finally have some free time, I thought of you right away and wanted to see if you'd like to come over and make big money with me." Chong Wei instantly lost interest. Ever since he acquired the system and fleet, he didn't really care about money on Earth. As long as it was enough, he could earn more if needed. However, out of politeness, he didn't hang up on Zhong Kai. After all, he was his childhood friend. Although they had drifted apart after he went to study in the city, and it had been years since they last met. Oh, where are you making money now? How much can you earn in a month? Zhong Kai on the other end replied boastfully, I'm currently working as a manager at an entertainment venue in Thailand, earning 36,000 a month. I sleep in 5-star hotels every day, eat seafood, and chat with beautiful girls. If you're envious, you should come over. With me looking out for you, no one here would dare to bully you. I'm only telling you this because I remember you, brother. Believe it or not. I can send you 2,000 to cover your flight, and once you land, I'll take you to have some fun. Having experienced battles and life and death situations, Chang Wei had developed a peculiar intuition. He quickly sensed a slight tremor in Zhong Kai's voice, realizing that this situation was not simple. After all, there is no such thing as a free lunch in this world. It would be better to dream about money falling from the sky. Chang Wei picked up the phone and cautiously probed. Zhong Kai, let me ask you, do you owe me 505 yuan and Haven Tea paid me back? Are you planning to include interest this time? The call abruptly cut off with a series of beeping sounds as Zhong Kai was about to respond. Was the call forcefully disconnected? It seems something has happened to Zhong Kai. The meaning of 505 is actually SOS, a call for help. Clearly, this call was being monitored, and the other party caught on to the hidden meaning of 505, so they quickly hung up. Chang Wei quickly analyzed the situation and turned to Tua Su, who was in an invisible state. Tua Su, it looks like we have work to do. Chapter 45. Preparing for rescue. In the past decade, with the widespread and rapid development of the internet in the country, telecom fraud has become particularly rampant. However, since the crackdown at home, many individuals involved in telecommunications fraud have chosen to smuggle themselves to various small countries in Southeast Asia to evade legal consequences or seek alternative opportunities, continuing their fraudulent activities. This might not be well known among people in big cities, but those in rural areas and towns are very much aware of it, as they can see many of their fellow townspeople engaged in such scams. After returning home, many fraudsters lavishly build houses in their rural hometowns, spending hundreds of thousands and creating large, impressive estates. They spend money freely, playing cards extravagantly, showing no signs of being frugal business people, as if money comes easily. While it's possible some of them have earned money through legitimate businesses, locals can easily find out through casual visits, card games, or conversations that many of them are involved in telecommunications fraud. Of course, they generally do not antagonize their fellow villagers and are usually polite and generous. Those who are overly brazen or offend others have often been reported and caught. I remember a man from a nearby village who was too arrogant in his actions. He was arrested by the police while his wife was pregnant. Years later, when he got out, his child had grown up and asked, "Who is this person?" When I first heard this story, I thought it was just a funny anecdote and didn't pay much attention. But as I grew older, I recalled this lesson vividly. Times are changing, the foolish are becoming smarter, and law enforcement is tightening. However, the methods of deception are also continuously evolving. They have fled to various Southeast Asian countries, and their actions have become increasingly reckless and cruel, due to the lack of cross-border jurisdiction and the inaction of local governments in Southeast Asia. Large telecommunications fraud groups and related criminal organizations have emerged, along with numerous black market industries. Among these, northern Myanmar is particularly rampant. Local warlords and corrupt officials, seeing how much money these individuals can make, have begun to exploit them. They confine them under the guise of providing protection. Essentially, they establish so-called technology parks, forcing these individuals to work for their profit. Once there, they lose their freedom, and every penny they earn must be spent locally, serving as easy targets to be exploited repeatedly. It truly reflects the saying, make money in northern Myanmar, spend it in northern Myanmar. Once you leave, you may not survive to spend it. Want to escape? Want to run? Want to resist? Just look at the high walls and fences of the parks. Look at the armed guards at the posts. Look at the tortured and beaten bodies buried in the ground. Faced with the deprivation of freedom, the squeeze of survival, and a bleak future, the character of this group gradually distorted, becoming devoid of humanity. They began to target their fellow countrymen, using various methods to lure and kidnap them to their parks, where they would face further exploitation and oppression. Men would be taken for telecommunications fraud, while women would be categorized based on their looks and figures. One might become the mistress of a boss, the plaything of a high-ranking executive, forced into pornographic live streams and videos, work as a dealer or hostess in upscale clubs, or simply end up as a lounge princess in KTVs or merchandise in street-side brothels. Defiant, disobedient, slacking off? Beatings, electric shocks, confinement, and physical punishment are just the beginning. What follows includes snake pits, water dungeons, and torture chambers. Still refusing to yield? Fine. Fingers will be chopped off, limbs amputated, ears sliced away. Ultimately, you'll be sold off to a notorious industrial park, where you might become a blood donor, a dairy cow, or a living organ donor. Why are they so ruthless toward their own people? Part of it is about intimidation and control. But another reason is that happiness stems from comparison. Even if my life is miserable, as long as someone else suffers more, I can feel content, even happy. They relish the sense of power over others' lives and deaths. Not only must you earn money for them, but they will also continuously trample and torment you. Humanity has no place here. No matter how well you perform or how much profit you bring, you hold no real status. Once you've outlived your usefulness, being sold off to that industrial park, the final stop in life, becomes your inevitable fate. Once trapped in their clutches, a person is no longer human. They're referred to as livestock or inferior pushers, the lowest of the low. This label signifies that you're considered less than human. In recent years, after exposure of the situation in northern Myanmar, people have grown fearful at the mere mention of the region. However, the cunning operators quickly set up transit points in countries like Thailand, Laos, and Cambodia. They've even established transport companies domestically, using business trips, team-building activities, and tourism as covers to lure victims to these transit hubs, only to be kidnapped and taken to industrial parks in northern Myanmar. Their methods are brazen, and the impact is severe. Having some knowledge of this, Chong Wei naturally feels wary of telecom scams, especially invitations to Southeast Asian countries. Now, it's almost certain that his childhood friend, who has been missing after searching for a job, has likely been deceived into one of these scam compounds. This phone call was probably a disguised cry for help. Chong Wei's gaze turned icy, his heart set on eliminating this malignant tumor that preys on compatriots. In that case, while rescuing others, I might as wipe out that northern region along the way. Chapter 46. What in the world is this? Chong Wei had no intention of revealing his true identity, as his physical form is fragile. A single bullet could end his life. He couldn't afford to gamble on human nature, betting that after exposure, he wouldn't be targeted due to vested interests, international rivalries, or the darker facets of humanity like envy and malice. Thus, his plan was straightforward, unless absolutely necessary. He would avoid engaging with his own country's government to steer clear of deeper schemes and conflicts. That said, he still holds deep affection for his homeland and hopes for its strength. But this isn't a story about technological supremacy. Digressing into that would stray from the main plot. Moreover, the nation's fortunes are on the rise, and with or without his help, the homeland can once again stand at the pinnacle of the world. Thus, Chong Wei packed the secondary technology extracted from a certain game and prepared to place it on the far side of the moon, waiting for the homeland's lunar lander to discover it on its own. The next step is for the ship to strike and deal with a certain region in the north of Myanmar. Chong Wei has come to realize that instead of hiding his warship and being a complete outsider, it would be better to suddenly reveal himself to the world, letting them know of the existence of extraterrestrial civilizations, rather than constantly focusing on trivial matters on this small piece of land. Day after day, people argue, fight, and impose sanctions over petty issues. Humanity's journey should be towards the stars and the sea. This operation in northern Myanmar can serve as a banner to show the world that they do not control everything and cannot do as they please. Because above them looms the threat from Chong Wei's warship. Only when external pressure arrives will this species, which tends to fight among themselves, possibly unite. Just like the organization in a certain anime. Although this approach may lead to unfavorable public opinion against their fleet, and could result in being painted as an evil extraterrestrial civilization or a villain, Chong Wei does not care and has no intention of explaining anything. What does it matter to me if you criticize others? Anyway, Chong Wei just wants to showcase his warship to flex in front of the world. Then he will maintain this sense of mystery and fear and disappear from sight. His main responsibility is still to ensure the completion of the rescue missions assigned by the system, so he will not continue to interfere in earthly matters. He hopes that under this external pressure, the entire world can patiently focus on scientific research and development, rather than causing chaos. Otherwise, a third world war could break out at any moment due to careless words or actions. By then, the entire planet would be engulfed in nuclear radiation, which is not what Chong Wei desires. Such inhumane places in northern Myanmar should be eradicated. That night, Chong Wei controlled the system to summon the ship to the far side of the moon and instructed his assistant to bury the packed scientific technologies. As soon as any astronauts approach, it will manifest, revealing itself like a historical relic. The name of the relic has been decided, inscribed in ancient characters on a stone tablet as Palace of Guanghan. Meanwhile, another operative, accompanied by a stealth aircraft, activated its cloaking mode and headed towards northern Myanmar. His mission was to infiltrate the area, secretly gather intelligence and evidence, mark the locations of guards, bosses, executives, and the captives, and safely bring back a certain individual. This time, it's all up to you. The operative chuckled lightly and replied over the communication, "This task is a piece of cake for me. Just wait and see." The covert operation began. He moved like a wraith, swift and unhurried, decisive in action, accomplishing each set goal with remarkable efficiency. Any guard in front of him had no time to react before being slashed across the neck by the butterfly knife in his hand, showing disdain for using firearms or any other abilities. His infiltration was flawless and silent, truly embodying the principle that if everyone was eliminated, no one would know he had entered. Another flash of cold light passed by, and 2 armed guards fell to the ground without a sound. This was the 500th person that he had taken down that night. Since it was late at night, many people were already asleep, so the disappearance of so many individuals did not trigger an alarm in the area. Even if a few woke up to relieve themselves and accidentally stumbled upon the scene, well, they would just have to be more careful in the next life. Thus, he continued his path of ruthless elimination, taking down all the night patrols without a hitch. Afterward, he found the small dark room where the individual he was looking for was held captive, based on the intelligence he had gathered. This type of small dark room was used for punishing disobedient individuals, typically isolating those who misbehaved or made mistakes, leaving them to endure hunger for several days before releasing them. It is known that hunger is a profoundly painful experience. Among those who commit suicide, some cut their wrists, some self-immolate, some leap from heights or into rivers, but one hardly hears of anyone starving themselves to death. This is because most people find it difficult to resist the primal instincts of human physiology. The suffering and mental torment are immense. Being confined in a small dark room for a few days can push one's will to the brink of collapse. At that point, when faced with the commands of their abusers, they are more likely to yield. As the door creaked open, a spiritually drained young man was curled up in the corner, covered in scars, slowly lifting his head to look at him. He regarded the young man with a playful expression, and after confirming that he matched the description of the individual he was looking for, he spoke in a deep tone. It is said that when a person loses their freedom, they truly come to understand themselves. I wonder how well you understand yourself? In that instant, he saw a flash of cold light in the young man's eyes, a flame of vengeful desire. He also noticed that this person possessed considerable innate abilities. With a smile, he tossed the large knife from a deceased assailant in front of him and continued, "Kid, pick it up. Go do what you want to do." Despite his current weakness and uncertainty about who this strange figure was, the young man gritted his teeth and picked up the large knife from the ground, his gaze fierce and resolute. "I will kill all those beasts." The slaughter of revenge began. By the next day, the authorities received news, and a large police force began to mobilize urgently at the borders, issuing a stern warning to the northern region, demanding the unconditional release of all their citizens. However, the armed groups in the northern region did not take this warning seriously, as they understood the nature of the authorities. They would only bark but would not dare to take real action, especially not to cross the border. Particularly, the bosses of the area, being citizens themselves, knew the conditions of their own country, and now they felt invincible and ignored the warnings. This was the biggest reason why these northern demons always treated their fellow citizens as mere pawns, simply because they were easy to bully, just as they were feeling triumphant. Certain that this time would be just a lot of noise with little action, the originally clear sky suddenly darkened after a sonic boom from an air pressure wave. Everyone looked up in shock, exclaiming, "What is that?" In the skies above the area in northern Myanmar, a stunning sight appeared. A massive cosmic battleship had suddenly materialized right above them. Indeed, it was the Hesperian, the ship that Chang Wei was aboard. The Hesperian was enormous and majestic, exuding a fortress-like solidity that inspired awe and mystery. Its hull was composed of heavy armor, covered with shimmering black luster. The contours of the massive ship were smooth and intricate, showcasing an unparalleled level of future technology and craftsmanship. Sunlight reflected off its surface, giving it a faint metallic sheen. Several gigantic engines were arranged at the rear of the Hesperian, ejecting blue ion flames and producing brilliant propulsion beams that left onlookers mesmerized. Its portholes emitted a soft glow, and through the transparent windows, one could see the interior brightly lit. The surrounding clouds parted due to its presence, creating a circular open area, allowing the Hesperian to stand out in the sky as the center of attention. Compared to the buildings and landscapes below, the Hesperian appeared exceptionally massive. It towered into the clouds, resembling a steel giant from the future, completely overwhelming the people on the ground with its imposing presence. This sudden spectacle caused everyone to hold their breath, unable to contain their astonishment. The appearance of the Hesperian brought an unprecedented grand atmosphere to the northern Myanmar area, as if the entire region was dominated by the existence of this massive cosmic battleship. People looked up in curiosity and reverence, whether they were nearby residents or armed personnel within the area, all captivated by this magnificent sight, quickly pulling out their phones to capture this unbelievable moment. Chang Wei sat on the bridge, coldly observing the crowd below as they gasped and took photos. In a calm tone, he issued orders, begin deploying the drop pods, and command the Marines to rescue the imprisoned individuals. Additionally, the marked leaders, bosses, executives, and thugs should be executed on the spot. Simultaneously, the Hesperian began to descend rapidly, preparing for precise bombardment. Leave no armed forces in northern Myanmar. Yes, Commander. Matt Horner immediately relayed Chong Wei's orders. Soon, the previously calm atmosphere was shattered by a loud explosion. As the Hesperian slowly descended, the buildings below and the local armed forces in northern Myanmar began to be subjected to bombardment, plunging the entire area into chaos. Valkyrie fighters and Viking jets darted through the sky, unleashing a barrage of artillery and missiles onto the ground, resulting in a series of explosions and screams. There was no sympathy, no mercy. They were all doomed. Even the residents surrounding the northern region were not spared by Chong Wei, for they too were complicit and hypocritical accomplices of those demons. Whenever any captive managed to escape the compound, their reporting and capture efforts were particularly zealous. Simply put, they also viewed the victims not as human beings, but as livestock to be traded, treating people as commodities to be slaughtered and sold at will. What kind of behavior is this? It is an atrocity against humanity. Since that is the case, let them all perish. Boom, 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 boom. Amid the roar of artillery, a group of well-equipped, valiant brothers descended to the ground in drop pods. Their mission was primarily to liberate those held in captivity. These were fearless, iron-willed, and loyal soldiers. Anyone daring to stand in their way would be swept by a storm of metal and crushed like insects. If they were to carry a banner, they might even evoke the fervor of a certain galactic empire's battle cry. Run! The extraterrestrials are attacking, advancing relentlessly. They swiftly left the opposition strewn with corpses and drenched in blood. Then, these Marines trod over the shattered flesh in the corridors and pressed forward. A door was violently kicked open, revealing an operating room where a man lay on the table, eyes wide open in death, his chest and abdomen hollowed out. Clearly, a live organ extraction had just taken place. In the corner, several doctors and nurses crouched, trembling with fear. Without hesitation, the Marines raised their Gauss rifles and unleashed a volley of fire. The terror and screams ceased abruptly. Another door was forced open, revealing rows of humans restrained by peculiar torture devices. They were being drained of blood repeatedly through syringes, much like caged poultry. Evidently, a mature industrial chain had been established. Human blood could not only be used for medical procedures, but also for pharmaceuticals, such as the expensive human gamma globulin that boosts immunity. The Marines rushed in to free these individuals from their shackles while calling for medics. Boom. Yet another door was breached, unveiling a dairy workshop. The milk here was, in fact, human breast milk. The perpetrators in the northern region would force female victims into pregnancy to produce milk, which was then sold to affluent clients. The newborns were killed outright, their organs removed, and their tiny bodies exploited for drug trafficking. This was nothing short of deranged. As building after building fell under the Marines' control and iron doors were forced open, more and more scenes of cruelty came to light. Training facilities, exclusive dining areas, chambers of torment, and so on. All these images were transmitted to Chong Wei aboard the starship Hyperion, reinforcing his conviction that his decision was justified. He issued the command, speed up the process. Once this compound is dealt with, we move to the next. Today, we will cleanse every single facility in the entire northern region. At the same time, in an anonymous manner, notify them to be ready to receive a large number of victims from our country. Understood, Commander. Among the rescued individuals, there are certainly many who deserve their fate, as they were originally involved in scams. However, Chong Wei is too lazy to distinguish, leaving the investigation and handling to the authorities. In this unprecedented rescue operation, the ship became the savior and guardian of all those trapped. Its magnificent appearance and immense power moved every person saved. However, for the demons in the northern region and their accomplices, it transformed into a merciless reaper, continuously harvesting their decayed souls and filthy lives. Together with their sins, they plunged into the bottomless abyss. This day is destined to be remembered by the whole world, because the battleship of an extraterrestrial civilization has arrived. It destroyed the entire northern region and slaughtered nearly 1 million people, including local armed forces, within 4 hours. Chapter 48. Aftermath. The northern region includes 4 areas: Kokong, Shan State, Kachin State, and Wa State. The total area is 270,000 square kilometers, with a combined population of over 9 million, less than 10 million. However, if we account for illegal immigrants, criminals, and wealthy individuals coming to spend money, the number would be much higher. After World War II, this area fell into a long period of civil war and chaos, becoming a typical region of global turmoil. Not only is crime rampant, but it has also impacted the entire world, being dubbed a paradise for criminals. When the ship fired its cannon, not all those killed were completely innocent. but at least 90 were involved in black or gray activities. Due to the area's poverty and backwardness, in order to make money and develop, engaging in illegal activities and crime was almost a necessity. When an avalanche occurs, no snowflake is innocent. So did Chang Wei kill many? Not really. This was to uphold justice. If it weren't for the mountainous terrain and many primitive forests here, where one could easily hide by diving into the woods, Chang Wei would have killed even more. Over the course of more than 4 hours, over 800 zones in the northern region were destroyed, nearly 1 million livestock were eliminated, and hundreds of thousands of compatriots were rescued. Such a large-scale operation, did the local government and countries around the world not notice? The answer is that they not only knew, but they were also left shocked with their jaws dropping. What? Can anyone tell me if this is CGI? Is this a movie? But the numerous satellite images and countless videos uploaded online forced everyone to accept this reality. Do extraterrestrials really exist? Their battleships have arrived, and they are currently slaughtering in the northern region? Did those guys in the northern region kidnap extraterrestrials? What should we do? Make contact? Mobilize troops? Or drop a nuclear bomb? Watching the battlefield filled with gunfire in the videos, leaders from various countries all fell silent. Let us wait until it's over to talk. On the other side, the freed compatriots were all overjoyed, crying tears of joy, picking up their phones and frantically dialing their family members. At the same time, the embassy and police lines were overwhelmed with calls from them, hoping that someone from their home country could come to their rescue. The nation quickly responded, immediately pressuring the local government to allow their police force to cross the border and rescue their compatriots. They also requested the local government to cooperate in apprehending and eliminating those responsible for the crimes in the northern region, as well as those who had been captured. Seeing this as a great opportunity to regain control over the northern area, the local government agreed without hesitation. Thus, a large-scale operation to combat crime and make arrests in the northern region was launched. Meanwhile, as various governments realized that the ship had ceased fire and began repatriating ground troops, they urgently sent communications to the ship. The messages were all similar, expressing sentiments like, "Dear extraterrestrial beings, we are a peace-loving nation that values democracy and freedom, and we wish to establish a friendly and cooperative relationship with you." However, the commander paid no attention to these communications. After gathering all the troops, he executed a tactical jump and vanished without a trace. He had no intention of engaging with Earth's nations. Rather, he aimed to exist beyond their conflicts. His goal was to instill a sense of contemplation and fear in the world, redirecting humanity's focus and energy back to exploring the universe and studying science, thereby reducing unnecessary internal strife. Wasn't it said that humanity has little time left? At most, 100 years before Earth's resources and environment are exhausted and destroyed by unrestrained human activities. If humanity has not developed the capability to exploit and utilize extraterrestrial resources by then, they will be forever trapped on Earth, and the progress of civilization will be completely halted. As a member of humanity, the commander naturally could not turn a blind eye to this. Therefore, he concealed parts of the technology derived from his previous mission on the far side of the moon, waiting for his homeland to discover them, in hopes of providing a glimmer of hope for human civilization. Don't ask why he didn't share it with the Western powers. That would be a foolish question, one he would not bother to answer. From the last mission, he realized that even as the system host, he could still die, especially in the ever-changing battlefield of the cosmic realm, amidst the firepower of warships, who could guarantee absolute safety. It was possible that during a rescue mission, he might encounter an overwhelming enemy and be defeated from a distance. He chuckled at the irony and then stood up from his seat on the bridge of the ship, turning to see Toshi approaching him with Zhong Kai by his side. "Wait, Zhong Kai?" The commander's eyes widened as he asked, "Toshi, why did you bring Zhong Kai back?" Toshi smiled mysteriously, pointing at Zhong Kai and explaining, "This kid has the potential to be a Spectre, and he has a bit of tenacity. With some training, he might become an excellent Spectre." Upon hearing this, the commander looked at his childhood friend in shock. Zhong Kai also looked at him in disbelief. "Is that really you, Chang Wei?" Chang Wei quickly regained his composure and smiled slightly, saying, "It's me, surprised, right? What is going on here?" Of course, he wouldn't disclose the truth about having a system, but given the circumstances, he chose not to remain silent. He looked at Zhong Kai and continued, "Zhong Kai, you are my good buddy since childhood. We even fought the fierce dog from the neighboring village together. As for why I am who I am today, I will tell you privately later. You've just freed yourself from the situation in the northern region, and you are weak and injured all over. You should go to the medical room to recover first. Once you're better, we can have a good talk." Hearing Chang Wei's words, Zhong Kai immediately felt an overwhelming mental fatigue and physical exhaustion. If it weren't for the will for revenge that kept him going, he wouldn't have managed to hold on until now. "All right, you make sense. I'll go rest and get treated." After Zhong Kai was taken to the medical room, Chang Wei quickly approached Toshi and whispered, Toshi, since my brother Zhong-kai has the potential to become a specter, do you think I do too? Do I also possess the ghostly energy talent? Toshi looked at Chang Wei with his pale eyes, observing him seriously, but then fell silent, perhaps finding it hard to articulate. After a long while, Toshi finally said to the eagerly awaiting Chang Wei, I'll give you a look. You can figure it out yourself. After saying this, Toshi turned and walked away without looking back. Chang Wei stood there, stunned, quickly understanding the implication, and his inner thoughts were a whirlwind. Am I really that useless? Chapter 49. Choosing a new battleship. The news and videos of the massacre in the northern region by the alien civilization's battleships are now going viral across major news media worldwide. Unlike Eastern countries, which continue to reveal evidence of the atrocities in the northern region and interview rescued individuals, Western media predominantly spread panic, skepticism, and condemnation regarding the alien civilization. Some misguided individuals, brainwashed by a certain ideology, even shouted about shooting down the alien battleships, demonstrating their ignorance. However, as the situation continues to escalate, some observant netizens noticed that the alien battleships depicted in the videos looked strikingly similar to the Hyperion from the sci-fi game, StarCraft II. Governments around the world clearly noticed this and immediately compared the video with the Hyperion from the game, and indeed, it was true. Consequently, the designers of the game StarCraft II were quickly invited for a chat with the authorities. Authorities, come clean. What kind of connection do you have with the alien civilization? Are you collaborators? Why does the Hyperion in your game look so much like their battleships? Designer, this is unbelievable. At the same time, countries began to discuss the intentions of this alien civilization and speculate whether they harbor malice towards humanity. There was no choice. In the absence of the truth, humanity could only prepare for the worst. Today, the alien forces could wipe out nearly 1 million people in the northern region. Tomorrow, it will be possible to reach the top of your house and unleash a powerful fusion strike. This means that the opposing side is not to be underestimated or easily dealt with. Perhaps this is a provocation, a warning, or even a manipulation. Regardless of what it truly is, all countries must set aside past prejudices and prepare to face this potential crisis with full force. In this moment, nearly all intelligence agencies and think tanks around the globe have been mobilized. They are conducting detailed investigations and analyses regarding the sudden appearance of the vessel and its actions in the northern region of Myanmar. However, this has little to do with Chang Wei. After explaining his situation to Zhong-kai, he resolved to become stronger. At just 20 years old, who could resist the temptation of gaining extraordinary power? Moreover, having witnessed the capabilities of the powerful entity in northern Myanmar, Zhong-kai was already captivated by the potential of becoming an extraordinary being. He was thrilled at the prospect of transforming into one himself. Seeing Zhong-kai's happy demeanor, Chang Wei admitted to feeling a bit jealous. Oh well, what can I say? I'm just an unskilled novice. I might as well focus on learning how to be a good fleet commander. Subsequently, Zhong-kai began his training as an extraordinary being aboard the vessel. Meanwhile, the armory was also able to produce standard equipment for extraordinary units, meaning Chang Wei could now recruit and train such forces. A quick glance revealed that the price was a bit steep, but still acceptable, so he decided to recruit a team of extraordinary beings. Stealth, reconnaissance, assassination, sabotage, and intelligence gathering, along with the ability to guide powerful strikes. This kind of interstellar special operations team would surely have plenty of opportunities to be utilized in the future. Now, 3 days have passed since the incident in northern Myanmar, and Chang Wei has returned to the town's internet cafe in his rural hometown to check on the posts he made. To his surprise, there were over 1,000 replies. This indicates that the recent events have indeed brought significant traffic to his post. Why do I say that? Just look at the most liked comments and you'll understand. User Supreme Master of the Swarm. Hey kid, is the recent vessel in northern Myanmar summoned by you? Where's your home? I want to check it out. User Blue Star Gravity. Bro, you can't be serious about having some kind of multiverse rescue system, right? Count me in. I don't ask for much. Just give me $50 and a Gauss rifle, and I'll be your good buddy from then on. User Princiule. Big shot. Need any extra hands? I'm a pro at StarCraft 2, rank master, and I can show off my micro with the Marines. Just give me 2 command centers, and I'll fly over to help you mine. Chang Wei nearly burst out laughing. The internet is indeed filled with talent. It's quite amusing. Though some comments are just jokes, they have genuinely caught his attention. He continued scrolling through the comments, carefully reading each one. Aside from the humorous banter, many responses finally started to become serious. It's truly a case of each showcasing their talents. There are all kinds of sci-fi warships, complete with detailed descriptions and images. For example, the Endless from the game, the Emperor-class battleship from another popular franchise, various star destroyers from a famous film series, the Genesis ship from a survival game, the Paradox engine from a classic strategy game, the Huberian from a mobile game, the Gorgon-class battlecruiser from a well-known strategy game, and the supercarrier Olympus Mons from a popular first-person shooter. Chong Wei read diligently, repeatedly going over all the introductions to the universe warships provided by netizens. They were indeed impressive, cool, and stylish, but at the same time, they made his decision even harder. He could only choose 2 ships. What should he pick? Just as he was caught in this dilemma, he came across a lengthy, high-quality review. A netizen with a unique perspective commented, "The creativity of the original poster is quite impressive. Normally, we see systems focused on cultivation or high-tech mechs, but here you are, playing with universe warships and planning to assemble an international fleet for rescue missions across realms? Alright, you've piqued my interest, so let me share my suggestions." When it comes to interstellar sci-fi warships, we often instinctively think of the powerful vessels from anime, games, and movies. We feel that with a strong ship in hand, we can conquer the world. But let me ask you all, who is our opponent? From now on, we shall rectify all injustices, let the ships come. However, real warfare is no game. Every type of unit and warship has its value, especially in large-scale fleet confrontations where both sides are evenly matched. The side that can efficiently manage logistics, repairs, supplies, and coordinated operations is more likely to achieve final victory. Some warships may appear powerful when viewed in isolation, but in a large-scale military engagement, their advantages will diminish significantly. Keep in mind that outer space is a 3-dimensional battlefield where enemies can attack from any angle. How should one effectively respond to situations like facing frontal assaults, side attacks, rear interceptions, long-distance jumps, or quick evasive maneuvers? No matter how strong your warship is, if it can maneuver effectively while others cannot, then what difference does it make compared to fighting alone? At this point, the fleet commander must consider a prerequisite: seamless collaborative operations. We can take the current naval forces of Earth as an example, as modern naval battlefields are also 3-dimensional. They must defend against surface vessels and submarines, as well as aerial attacks. Thus, we see that a well-rounded modern naval fleet isn't solely reliant on displacement. It is equipped with aircraft carriers, destroyers, cruisers, submarines, frigates, transport ships, and so on. Each has its own role, working together and providing cover, allowing their combat power to easily form a cohesive whole. The same applies to space fleets. By sharing similar technologies and systems, fleet logistics, maintenance, and supply become more convenient. For example, using the same types of ammunition and fuel, sharing similar maintenance equipment and spare parts, etc. Additionally, equipping them with a unified command and control system can ensure seamless coordinated actions during combat. As a fleet commander, in the complex environment of space warfare, you must understand that only through close cooperation among the various warships can you form a strong combat capability. Otherwise, you will simply be a disorganized crowd, unworthy of engaging in low-level conflicts. You need to clearly assign roles: which warship is responsible for the main attack, which provides fire support and defense, which is in charge of intelligence gathering and reconnaissance, and which should possess absolute burst advantage to turn the tide of battle at critical moments. Only through mutual coordination and cooperative combat can your space fleet gain greater advantages on the battlefield, effectively execute missions, and improve survival chances. Therefore, considering all of the above, since your first warship is the Hyperion, I suggest you prioritize the Gorgon-class battlecruiser from StarCraft II. Chapter 50. Gorgon-class battlecruiser. The Gorgon-class battlecruiser is the largest and most powerful battlecruiser developed by the Terrans in the Copperless sector of StarCraft II. It employs numerous advanced technologies and represents the pinnacle of Terran military technology, making it the strongest unit of the Terrans. It is equipped with ample living facilities for crew members, including dining halls, bars, and recreation rooms, which help maintain the long-term combat effectiveness of the crew. With a standard crew capacity of 6,000 to 8,000 personnel, the only Gorgon-class battlecruiser appearing in the game is the Bucephalus, featured in Heart of the Swarm and Nova's covert operations. It served as the flagship of the Terran Empire during the Second Great War, with a crew of 8,239 and 2504, and Valerian Minsk once traveled aboard it. In Heart of the Swarm, the ship is invincible throughout its appearances. In the game, the attributes of the Gorgon-class battlecruiser classify it as an elite unit, armored unit, large unit, and mechanical unit. It is equipped with thousands of optical sensors and features a powerful defense matrix, similar to having a thick shield. In Heart of the Swarm, the Gorgon-class battlecruiser is armed with 25 ATS laser turrets, 16 J-23 anti-ship missile launchers, 145-point defense systems, and various ground attack weapons. In Nova's covert operations, the ATS turrets are replaced with ATX laser turrets. The Gorgon-class battlecruiser boasts strong defenses, compared to the Behemoth-class battlecruiser from the First Great War, which could be heavily damaged by a single Yamato cannon shot. The Gorgon can withstand multiple attacks from Yamato cannons. An online content creator conducted a test using a wheel battle strategy, where one Gorgon-class battlecruiser could take on 20 ordinary battlecruisers in a one-on-one fight. Although this is based on data from a game, it highlights the power of the Gorgon-class battlecruiser. Chong Wei looked at its data, his mind racing with thoughts. The comment from that netizen made sense. Having warships of the same type indeed makes supply, maintenance, and coordinated command operations much easier. If I recruit the Gorgon-class battlecruiser as the strongest unit of the human faction in this interstellar conflict, it can definitely serve as both a meat shield and a firepower source for the entire fleet. Since that's the case, I'll choose it for one of the warship slots. With a clatter, the system deducted 500 mission points. Immediately, a mechanical notification from the system echoed. Ding! Gorgon-class battlecruiser recruitment successful, now docked in the system's warship slot. The host can board for inspection or summon it to any open area within 1 light year. Chong Wei glanced at the imposing hull of the Gorgon-class battlecruiser on the system panel, nodding in satisfaction. He didn't rush to inspect it, as he still had tasks to complete. Next was the selection of the second warship. The Gorgon-class battlecruiser serves as a meat shield and firepower source. The Huberian can be categorized as support and defense. The Cybertron Ark can barely be considered a supply transport ship. Now, he still needed a reconnaissance ship for intelligence gathering and a large Titan mothership that could turn the tide in crucial moments. Which one should he choose? After pondering for a moment, Chong Wei suddenly thought of something and asked the system in his mind. System, can I recruit the Protoss legendary Ark ship? The Spear of Aden? Chong Wei had his own motives for asking this. He realized that starting from the Huberian, all the warships he recruited were mass-producible. At most, they had impressive names, differences in configurations and modifications, or were overloaded with crew. But essentially, they were not much different from ordinary mass-produced warships. In contrast, the Spear of Aden was an exceptionally powerful ship, one of the 3 legendary Ark ships created by the Protoss at their peak. The 3 Ark ships are the Pride of Otaris, Memory of Nezib, and Spear of Aden. They are essentially unique legendary ships, not mass-producible. If Chong Wei could recruit them, he would hit the jackpot. It would be like trading a bird gun for a cannon, instantly becoming SSR. However, Chong Wei had a feeling that this was unlikely to succeed. Anyway, he would test the system first. Chapter 51 System Permission System. Can I recruit the Protoss legendary Ark ship, the Spear of Aden? The system responded as before, with a cold, emotionless mechanical voice. Host permissions insufficient, recruitment not possible. Insufficient permissions? Can you explain this in detail? Chong Wei furrowed his brow and immediately inquired. The system quickly answered his question. Host permissions represent the level of access to system functions. As host permissions increase, more features of the system will gradually be unlocked for the host. Currently, the host has a permission level of 1. Apart from basic system functions, the host can enjoy a 24-hour task preparation time and recruit warships with a civilization level not exceeding 4. The legendary Ark ship, the Spear of Aten, carries space dimension conversion technology of level 5 civilization and time acceleration, deceleration, and freezing technology of level 6 civilization, thus determining that the host cannot recruit it. Is that so? The system can indeed recruit all sci-fi warships, but the host needs to upgrade their own permissions to do so. It's just like leveling up in a game. If your level and attributes are not up, even if you have a legendary weapon, you still can't equip it. With this in mind, Chong Wei continued to ask the system in his mind. System, how can I upgrade my permissions? The system responded, to upgrade permissions, the host needs to continue completing the tasks issued by the system and expand their fleet size. Currently, the host only needs to recruit 1 more warship to reach a total of 4, which would meet the minimum fleet formation requirement. At that point, the host's level 2 permissions will be automatically unlocked. With level 2 permissions, the host will enjoy a 48-hour task preparation time and gain the right to name their fleet. Additionally, the system will activate a daily check-in feature. After checking in, the host will receive a reward of 100 task points daily. If the host checks in for 10 consecutive days, the reward will be doubled. If the host checks in for a month, they will receive an extra attendance bonus of 6,000 task points. Chong Wei understood that the system adjusts its offerings based on the individual. In simple terms, the host's permissions determine their treatment. You are just a small squad leader in a unit, with only a few soldiers under your command. Yet you still want the same treatment as a division commander? Wanting planes, tanks, and artillery? Dream on. Getting a few more grenades is already generous. Did you think military funding falls from the sky? Chong Wei had also read many web novels featuring systems, where the systems are often described as omnipotent entities capable of exchanging incredible items or summoning powerful NPCs. However, upon careful consideration, it becomes clear that almost all systems follow one principle: issuing tasks. Why issue tasks? Why establish permissions? Why label prices? Wouldn't it be better for the host to directly become invincible? The reason might be simple. The system cannot do it. Have you ever thought about where the items exchanged by the system come from? The warships and NPCs that Chong Wei recruits, where do they originate? Why do characters like Matt Horner, Swan, and Tosh feel so much like real people instead of mere NPCs. Perhaps the system issues tasks to obtain some unknown resource, which is the key to sustaining its normal operation. Essentially, the host is just a worker receiving a salary, manipulated by the system to achieve extraordinary results. It's no wonder Chong Wei thinks so much. After all, there are so many conspiracy theories in current system-themed web novels that it's hard not to get lost in thought. However, Chong Wei doesn't mind, at least not right now, because if it weren't for the emergence of the system, he would probably still be tormented by cancer, with no hope for the future. So what is the truth? It actually doesn't matter. Chong Wei just needs to focus on himself. System. Since my current authority only allows me to recruit warships of no more than level 4 civilization, then what exactly is the standard for these level 4 civilization warships? The system replied mechanically. Currently, the Earth where the host is located is a level 7 civilization. To break through the atmosphere and enter space, one must reach the second cosmic velocity, which is 112 kilometers per second, in order to escape the gravitational pull of the Earth. This refers to those artificial spacecraft. Level 1 civilization is known as planetary civilization, where their spacecraft can freely enter and exit the planets of their own civilization. Level 2 civilization is called stellar civilization, where their ships can freely travel and mine within their star system. Level 3 civilization is referred to as galactic civilization, where their warships possess near-light speed capabilities for simple travel within the galaxy. Level 4 civilization is known as intergalactic civilization, where their warships can easily achieve intergalactic travel. Level 5 civilization is called multidimensional transformation civilization, where their ships can switch between various dimensions, allowing for quick travel to every corner of the universe. Level 6 civilization is known as parallel world civilization, where their ships can reach other parallel universes, which are essentially small bubbles on the supermembrane of the universe, projecting and refracting a galaxy, a planet, or a city. These small bubbles drift and slide on the supermembrane of the universe, and whenever they intersect with other dimensions, both worlds can see mirage-like scenes of each other. Level 7 civilization is referred to as God-level civilization. The host's authority is insufficient to know more. Alright, Chong Wei finally understood. In other words, the warships he encountered in Starship Troopers and Titanfall 2 were at most level 3 civilization warships. No wonder fighting them felt like a breeze. However, this also indicates another issue. His current fleet is not invincible. In the worlds he will venture to in the future, he may encounter enemies with higher civilization levels and stronger fleets, such as those from the Warhammer 40k universe, the Three-Body universe, the Eve universe, and the Stellaris universe, among others. Indeed, one must be ambitious and resilient, as the road ahead is long and heavy. Otherwise, it would truly align with what a certain netizen said, fearing difficulties, and ultimately only deserving to linger in low-tier matches. Chong Wei continued to browse the warships mentioned in the netizen's replies. After a period of careful selection, he finally confirmed another warship slot. It's decided. The choice is the Super Dreadnought Infinity from the game Halo. Chapter 52. The Supercarrier Endless and the Lightbringer Fleet. The Endless is the fleet flagship of the human faction in the game Halo 4, representing the United Nations Space Command. It was secretly constructed by the naval intelligence in the Oort cloud, utilizing technology derived from both the Covenant and Forerunner. The construction took several years to complete. A significant number of Spartan 4 soldiers were deployed to serve on the Endless, with the original captain being Andrew Del Rio, who was relieved of duty for abandoning the chief and the AI during an operation. The current captain is Thomas Lasky, who was rescued by the chief from a Covenant attack during his time at the military academy. Builder, Concord Special Assembly Factory. Class, Endless Class Supercarrier. Length, 56, 942 m. Width, 8, 333 meters. Height, 10, 412 meters. Mass, 970 million tons. Hull armor, 49 meters thick A3 titanium alloy combat armor. Shield system, MG44N heavy diffusion field generator. Sensor system, includes long-range super sensors, radar, optical detectors, spectrometers, and searchlights. Drive engine, 1XR2 Bagram field fusion engine, capable of sublight speed. Slipspace engine, 1 Mark X Macedon Z78720 HDS prototype, providing the necessary power for faster-than-light travel. Combat configuration, equipped with 4 CR-03B Series 8 super magnetic acceleration cannons, 3 50-24-cell M42 missile launchers, each capable of firing 24 missiles, totaling 8, 400, 250 30-cell M75 missile launchers, each capable of firing 30 missiles, totaling 7, 500, 520-cell M96 missile launchers, each capable of firing 20 missiles, totaling 10, 000, 830 70mm M965 point defense cannons, 10 Mark 25 11 crossbow magnetic acceleration cannon arrays, 85 M85 Scythe anti-aircraft gun arrays, 190 M97 Javelin guided missile systems, and a large number of Variant V Havoc tactical nuclear warheads. Onboard units, a total of 18. 262 personnel, including 11, 112 crew members and 7, 150 soldiers. It carries 10 Steadfast-class frigates, 5, 400 Marines, 750 Helljumpers, 800 Army soldiers, 200 Air Force personnel, and an unspecified number of Spartans. The configuration is truly formidable, living up to the name of a supercarrier. There's a meme online that humorously suggests that the Endless, despite being just an ordinary scientific vessel, has a slightly overwhelming combat capability. Chang Wei was unsure whether there was a chief petty officer aboard the Endless. But since he had already decided to choose this ship, he didn't mind whether it was top tier or not. Everything was left to fate. System. Select the recruitment battleship. The super mothership Endless. The recruitment price began to rise from the original 500 task points to 600 task points. This left Chang Wei with only 400 task points. Not enough to even purchase a hero unit. However, once he reached level 2 authority, he could check in daily and earn 100 task points. He would accumulate slowly. One can't eat a big meal in one bite. Afterward, Chang Wei looked at the Endless and the Gorgon-class battlecruiser in the system's dock slots and couldn't help but smile. At the same time, after the recruitment was completed, the system also provided a notification. Ding! The host meets the conditions and has unlocked level 2 authority. The daily check-in function is now online. You have not checked in today. Fleet composition is complete. Fleet name has not yet been designated. Chang Wei first checked in, earning 100 task points for free, and then began to ponder the name for his fleet. He wasn't particularly skilled at naming things, but he came up with a good idea, to gather his fleet, allowing each captain and crew member to get to know each other while discussing the fleet name. After all, this name would accompany them for a long time, so it couldn't be taken lightly or casually. It needed to be impressive, powerful, and meaningful, because it would become a spiritual belief for everyone. In the same location as before, Chang Wei deployed 4 spacecraft near Neptune's orbit. The scenery was beautiful, and Earth's current observational methods made it difficult to detect them, making it a perfect place for an interstellar gathering. Aside from the unmanned Cybertron Ark, representatives from the Huberian, Gorgon-class battlecruiser, and Endless were all present. Even those who couldn't attend could watch the gathering and important speeches from their leaders via video livestream. This gathering was significant. It served not only as a platform for mutual exchange and acquaintance, but also aimed to establish connections and friendships among the crew, laying a solid foundation for future collaborative operations. To Chang Wei, these crew members were not just cold NPCs. They were real people with emotions. Since they were human, feelings would be involved. Therefore, he wanted to use this exchange to cultivate feelings and trust among everyone. Only by building a close-knit foundation could his fleet achieve greater glory in future battles. Watching the group of 50 good brothers and Spartan warriors quickly bond and share laughter, Chang Wei felt a sense of satisfaction and wanted to join in. However, as the fleet's highest commander, he couldn't abandon the captains and commanders beside him. He could only go over to offer a few encouraging words and pat them on the shoulder. As the celebration progressed, Chang Wei began to discuss fleet names with the captains and commanders. How about calling it the Spark Fleet? It implies that a single spark can ignite a prairie, suggested Matt. As soon as he said this, some agreed, while others opposed it. Isn't that a bit inappropriate? We're not going to other universes for a revolution. There's no need to be so flamboyant. Since we're here to save lives, how about calling it the Savior Fleet? That suggestion was met with immediate eye rolls from the crowd, especially from Toshi, whose eyes were already white, now shining bright like jade with a faint glow. Are you using ethereal energy to roll your eyes? Everyone chimed in. The group exchanged various names, many of which were either overly simplistic, a bit juvenile, or lacked charm. Chang Wei felt quite awkward, almost wanting to dig a hole to hide in. Taking the opportunity, he glanced over at the table of the big soldier and saw that Rue had started causing a ruckus after a few drinks, playfully smearing a piece of cake on the face of the Spartan chief. Is this guy going to get beaten up later? He didn't have the chance to observe further, as the chatter from the crowd quickly pulled his attention back. Everyone looked at him with eager eyes, asking for his opinion. Commander, what do you think of the Luminary Fleet? It means pursuing light and casting a hopeful dawn for those yearning to be saved. Chang Wei was taken aback, pondering the name and finding it very profound. Luminary? What a great name. From now on, we shall call ourselves the Luminaries, and our fleet will officially be named the Luminary Fleet. With Chang Wei's final decision, everyone nodded in agreement. Later, as the celebration neared its end, Chang Wei felt he should say something. Gathering his courage, he prepared for his first speech to the entire fleet. As he walked towards the podium, the previously noisy atmosphere fell silent. At that moment, all eyes were on Chang Wei, making him quite nervous. Taking a deep breath, he steadied himself, then spoke with determination. I am Vice Admiral Chang Wei, the highest commander of the fleet. As we near the end of this gathering, I solemnly announce, our fleet is officially named the Luminary Fleet. This name represents our courage, determination, and the spirit of pursuing light. As luminaries, we will seek justice and hope, and uphold the belief in saving those in tragedy. We will fight for those who are in despair. As the highest commander of the Luminary Fleet, I promise to do my utmost to lead our fleet in facing future challenges. I believe that as long as we unite as one and hold firm to our beliefs, we will be fearless and invincible. Let us celebrate our unity and friendship here and cheer for the future of the Luminary Fleet. Let us move forward together, chasing the light of the stars and the sea. Long live the Luminary Fleet. At this moment, all the crew members watching the speech erupted in cheers, instantly elevating the atmosphere to an unprecedented climax. They believed that one day, the fleet of light chasers would be remembered by the world. Chapter 53, A New Rescue Mission, Wandering Earth. Once the name of the fleet was confirmed, it quickly gained the affection of everyone. Many became increasingly dedicated during their regular training. For instance, his brother, Zhong Kai, was currently undergoing rigorous training by a certain drill instructor. In addition to intense physical conditioning and memorizing various intelligence knowledge, he also had to learn the operation of different weapons and equipment, as well as control over his own spiritual energy, among other things. This so-called spiritual energy is a special mental energy derived from the universe, closely related to the user's brain. With rigorous training, sensitive individuals can achieve effects that alter the material world. Generally speaking, this energy is somewhat associated with negative emotions. Perhaps it was precisely for this reason that the instructor noticed Zhong Kai's talent in northern Myanmar. Chong Wei walked into the crew lounge of the Hubrian. Upon seeing him enter, the members of the hardcore team gathered inside, playing cards, immediately stood up straight in fright and shouted in unison, "Good day, General." Chong Wei smiled and nodded, then suddenly asked them, "Huh? Why isn't Rue Gu here?" Rue Ji's close friend stepped forward and replied, "General, Rue Gu drank too much yesterday and had a bit of a disagreement with someone. He's currently resting in the medical bay." Chong Wei was momentarily speechless. Recalling how Rue Gu had smeared cake on a Spartan warrior's face during the fleet's dinner last night, he understood how this outcome came to be. "It's fine. You all carry on. I'm just looking around." "Understood, General." After exchanging nods with them, Chong Wei continued his stroll to the armory. In the armory, Swan was repairing his Draken laser drill. Upon seeing Chong Wei arrive, he looked as if he wanted to throw a wrench at him. "Kid, what are you doing here? Looking to borrow my Draken laser drill again? I haven't settled the last bill with you." Chong Wei smiled and quickly apologized. "Don't be so upset. I'll ask logistics to send you a few more bottles of good wine. Now that is more like it." As Swan's anger subsided, Chong Wei quickly asked, "How has that brisk guy been performing here lately?" "Him? Not bad. The first Titan produced here using Terran technology is for his testing. That kid is like a hungry wolf that's never seen a beautiful woman. He can't get enough of that Titan and spends all day on it, firing away at the training ground. He won't even come down." Chong Wei smiled slightly and said, "When do you plan to produce a few more Titans? I want Brisk to help me train an elite mech squad. This is mainly to respond flexibly to some ground emergencies. Compared to those bulky siege tanks and Goliath-armed robots, Titan's maneuverability is commendable. It can also swap out different weapons and mounts according to the battlefield environment, making it very suitable for special operations." Swan shrugged and replied impatiently, "Hurry up. I have to wait for him to finish testing all the data on the Titan before I can start the next step of mass production. There's still one crucial set of data pending, mainly regarding material compressive strength and temperature tolerance, which should be ready in a few days. Then I appreciate your hard work, Swan. I trust you to get the job done." Swan dismissed the compliment and waved his hand at Chong Wei. "Go away. Cut the chatter. I'm a mechanical engineer. This is what I do." Chong Wei laughed heartily, bid farewell to Swan, and headed to the laboratory. Upon arrival, Steidman immediately approached him with an update. "Sir, when do we start collecting experimental data for the space-time folding weapon?" "I'm eager to begin." Chong Wei smiled. "Don't rush, Steidman. Initiating the space-time folding weapon experiment in the solar system may pose unknown risks. Once we reach a safe area in another universe, I'll let you conduct the experiment. Oh, by the way, how's the research on the regenerative biosteel and Hercules technology coming along?" The regenerative biosteel allows damaged mechanical units to slowly recover, while Hercules is a large transport ship capable of deploying a substantial mechanized army quickly. It can even transport 4 of the largest thunder gods. Chong Wei valued both technologies highly, as they would play significant roles in future rescue missions. If Steidman couldn't complete the research in a short time, Chong Wei might use his task points to expedite the process. Steidman thought Chong Wei might ask something more, but it turned out to be just this. "Sir, don't worry. I've completed both technologies this morning. My mind is now filled with the experimental data for the space-time folding weapon." Chong Wei patted Steidman's shoulder and reassured him. "It won't be long. As long as the next mission isn't urgent, I'll permit you to board a scientific ship for the experiment. Haha, sir, you said it. No backing out. Of course. Just as he finished speaking, a mechanical prompt from the system echoed in Chang Wei's mind. Ding. A distress signal has been detected. Content as follows. Soon, the system's voice switched to a hoarse, magnetic male voice. This is the CN-17111 rescue team. We have an important mission to reach the underground city of Hangzhou. Otherwise, the lives of 350,000 people trapped in the underground city will be in grave danger. We are their only hope. Anyone who hears this message, please assist us. Chapter 54. The Wandering Earth Rescue Mission Generation in Progress Mission World. The Wandering Earth 1. Mission objective. Save 350,000 people in the underground city of Hangzhou and prevent a global disaster triggered by a Jupiter gravity crisis. Optionally, save humanity in this world. Mission details. Earth scientists predict that in the near future, the sun will experience a helium flash, leading to rapid aging of its core. At that time, the sun, heading towards destruction, will dramatically expand and ultimately engulf the entire solar system, including Earth. In order for humanity to survive, governments around the world have mobilized the collective power of humanity to construct 10,000 planetary engines and 2,000 steering engines on the Earth's surface. These engines will unleash powerful forces to propel Earth out of the solar system in search of a new home. Additionally, humanity has built and launched the Navigator International Space Station, which will provide early warning, navigation, and communication services for Earth. Thus, humanity began a grand voyage lasting 500 years, known as the Wandering Earth Plan. However, by 2075, during the implementation of the Wandering Earth Plan, a Jupiter gravity crisis erupted, causing a total of 771 engines worldwide to malfunction. Earth is set to collide with Jupiter in 37 hours, 4 minutes, and 12 seconds. The situation is urgent, concerning the lives of 3.5 billion people. The Earth United Government has issued the highest mobilization order, initiating a global saturation rescue effort. Mission rewards. Rescue Colonel Liu Peiqiang, reward of 3,000 mission points. Rescue Senior Pilot Han Xiang, reward of 2,000 mission points. Rescue Captain Wang Lei of the CN-17111 rescue team, reward of 1,000 mission points. Save the lives of 350,000 people in the underground city of Hangzhou, reward of 5,000 mission points. Prevent the global disaster triggered by the Jupiter gravity crisis, reward of 10,000 mission points. Optional mission. Save humanity in this world, reward of 100,000 mission points. Mission countdown. 47 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds. Wandering Earth. Is it really the Wandering Earth this time? Chang Wei's eyes widened in excitement. He had thought that his system would only issue rescue missions that required combat to complete, but unexpectedly, this time it was the world of the movie Wandering Earth 1. It seems he truly misunderstood the system. Wandering Earth 1, released in 2019, directed by Guo Fan, features special appearance by Wu Jing and stars Chu Chu Xiao, Li Guangjia, Wu Mengda, Zhao Jinmai, and others in a sci-fi adventure film. The film is adapted from the novel of the same name by Liu Cixin, depicting humanity's attempt to escape the solar system with Earth while facing a tremendous crisis in search of a new home. This sci-fi film has garnered immense popularity due to its impressive special effects, stunning visuals, magnificent music, captivating plot, and worldview, as well as its distinction from Western ideals of individual heroism. Among the countless fans, Chang Wei is certainly one of them. In particular, the spirit and philosophy of perseverance and the shared destiny of humanity in the film deeply resonated with him when he watched it. If one generation cannot accomplish something, then it should be passed on to the next generation, generation after generation, until one day, success is bound to come. This is a cultural romanticism unique to a certain great Eastern nation. The Wandering Earth not only opened the door for domestic science fiction films, but it is also a milestone in the history of Chinese cinema. Chang Wei has long felt sorrow for the characters in this film and the plight of humanity, and he never expected to have the opportunity to save this tragedy now. How could this not make him happy? If he doesn't take the opportunity to watch the movie again, it would truly be a disservice to himself. However, knowing that his fleet is about to travel to the world of the Wandering Earth also made Chang Wei puzzled. System. Why is it that every world we go to for rescue is one I'm familiar with from movies and games? Will there be worlds from anime and novels in the future? This can't all be fake, right? The system replied mechanically. Incorrect conclusion. The host's subjective judgment has led to cognitive bias, which needs immediate correction. The correct logic exists and is reasonable, according to the system's lineage. The information collected from various realms indicates that this phenomenon is quite common. It is a type of entanglement on a conscious level between different universes. which we call imaginative entanglement. This phenomenon allows certain intelligent beings in some worlds to perceive or receive stories and events happening in other worlds. Just like humans can see stars that are at a very distant range through light. Even if that star has long since perished and humans cannot reach it, they can still see what it used to be like. Similarly, the worlds in those stories may have long ceased to exist, but their information has been received by intelligent beings in other universes. However, the vast majority of intelligent beings cannot distinguish the truth of this information, or rather, they cannot verify it. They only believe it to be their own imaginative fantasies or dreams while sleeping. Yet, some intelligent beings receive information that is relatively complete and clear. They integrate the information they receive through the form of storytelling and present those stories clearly in their own world through various media such as films, novels, anime, and other literary forms. The essence of imaginative entanglement is, in fact, a form of cross-border communication and cultural dissemination between intelligent beings in the multiverse through this kind of conscious entanglement. When intelligent beings watch the fantastic adventures, technological developments, and cultural heritage of other worlds, there is a high probability of generating a resonance on a conscious level. Currently, the system lineage still cannot ascertain the role and significance of this resonance. After a series of answers, Chang Wei was greatly shocked. Is this how it is? Every story in a work might actually exist in reality. At the same time, Chang Wei also heard another secret of the system. System lineage? System. What is the system lineage? Does this mean that you are not individual entities? Am I not the only system host? You have bound countless hosts like me across various realms and constructed a vast intelligence network. Is that what you mean? You know too much. Bang. The imagined scene of the system personifying itself and suddenly revealing a sinister smile while drawing a gun did not occur. The system still answered in its usual cold tone. Host permissions insufficient, access denied. Task countdown, 47 hours, 23 minutes, 16 seconds. Please prepare for the task. Chapter 55, The Arrival of the Light Chaser Fleet. The No. 373 transport vehicle is a heavy-duty truck measuring 50 meters long, 8 meters wide, and 10 meters high, with a maximum load capacity of 3,000 tons and a top speed of 300 kilometers per hour. After the initiation of the Wandering Earth project, the No. 373 transport vehicle became the main transport vehicle on the surface, where the average temperature is minus 80 degrees Celsius. Its cockpit is not only the place for operating the vehicle, but also serves as a temporary resting and shelter area in the wild. Therefore, it is very large and equipped with complete living facilities. At this moment, Han Xiang, who had just escaped from prison with Lu Qi and Han Duoduo, was driving the number 373 transport vehicle, speeding across the vast snowy plains. The recent earthquake was truly perilous, and they had almost failed to escape, just as they were unaware of what had happened and were still haunted by the danger they had just faced. The vehicle's signal broadcast sounded with an emergency announcement from the global United Government. The United Government is on high alert. An announcement to all combat-ready forces worldwide. Due to the gravitational influence of Jupiter, 771 planetary engines around the globe have malfunctioned and shut down. To avoid a collision between Earth and Jupiter, all departments are to implement Emergency Plan Number 3 and set off immediately. It is imperative to restart all malfunctioning planetary engines within 36 hours. This rescue operation concerns the survival of 3.5 billion people worldwide. Priority of the objective is above all else. No cost spared. Han Xiang and his companions looked up at the large transport aircraft speeding away in the sky, as well as the countless rescue vehicles whizzing past them. They were suddenly filled with dread, their spines chilling. The atmosphere inside the vehicle was tense. Han Xiang, with a grave expression, looked out the window and said, "The rescue teams have been dispatched. It's unsafe outside, and we need to hurry back." After a conversation with Liu Peiqiang at the Navigator Space Station, they ultimately decided to seek refuge in the nearby underground city of Jinan. However, on their way, they encountered an unexpected incident. Damn the rebels. They chose this moment to attack the rescue convoy. "Captain, how is it on your side? Has anyone responded to the distress signal we sent out?" A muscular man in exoskeleton armor, carrying a Gatling gun on his back, was still trying to drag the half-exposed cabin back from the cliff's edge. But no matter how hard he and his companions tried, it was all in vain. In the end, they had no choice but to give up and vent their anger on the spot. Repeat. This is the CN-17111 rescue team. We have an important mission to reach the underground city of Hangzhou. Otherwise, the 350,000 lives trapped there will be in imminent danger. We are their only hope. Anyone who hears this message, please assist us. After trying again and again, there was still no response. Wang Lei, the captain of the CN-17111 rescue team, looked at his team members with a serious expression and said in a deep tone, "It seems no one can help us now. We can only rely on ourselves." He Lianke, Huang Ming, and Zhou Qian stay here to guard the Firestone. Zhao Jigang, Zhang Xiaoqiang, and I will go stop the vehicles. We must transport the Firestone to the underground city of Hangzhou. Otherwise, it will lead to a core meltdown, causing the underground magma to flood into the city. Yes, Captain. Everyone quickly took action, and during their search, they discovered a transport vehicle, number 373, heading in the opposite direction of the rescue team. Good, that's the one. Without a second thought, Wang Lei and his team drove their armed vehicle and stepped on the gas to chase after it. Vehicle 373, please slow down and stop. Awaiting further instructions. Vehicle 373, remain in place. Vehicle 373, this is an emergency requisition, pull over immediately. Seeing that the other party not only refused to stop, but also tried to accelerate and escape, Wang Lei and his team yelled through a loudspeaker mounted on their military vehicle, their tone increasingly severe. This transport vehicle, number 373, was carrying Han Ziyang and his group. Upon hearing that an armored military vehicle was chasing them and ordering them to stop, Han Ziyang immediately sensed trouble. But considering the safety of Lu Qi and Han Duo in the vehicle, he chose not to stop and pressed the accelerator to flee. However, they were ultimately stopped by Wang Lei and his team. Subsequently, the three of them got out of the armed vehicle with their guns and shouted at Han Ziyang and his group inside Vehicle 373. We are the CN17111 rescue team, sent to the first engine of Hangzhou. According to Article 32, Paragraph 1 of the Wandering Earth Law, your vehicle and its occupants are requisitioned. Despite Han Ziyang's strong reluctance, the situation was against them, and he had no choice but to compromise. They then followed Wang Lei to the previous cliff and helped drag a cargo container up. This rescue team had previously suffered an attack from rebel forces, those who had been clamoring to take the Earth back. The driver of their truck chose to uncouple to save the cargo container and sacrificed himself by falling off the cliff. Listening to Han Ziyang's account, Lu Qi glanced at the cargo container they had pulled up and curiously asked, "What exactly is inside? Is it that important? The driver gave his life for it? I think what we are transporting is called Firestone." Firestone? Isn't that the ignition device for the planetary engine? Han Ziyang said with a heavy expression, for 30 years. The engine has never gone cold. This is not just a simple rescue mission. Many people will die, but it's useless to say anything now. Their vehicles have been requisitioned, and they can only continue on their way into the dark. They must drag the cargo container and pray not to encounter rebels along the way, hoping to reach the underground city of Hangzhou safely. However, due to the gravitational influence of Jupiter, continental plates have fractured, resulting in many rifts and cliffs. It's not easy to head directly to the underground city of Hangzhou. According to satellite images sent back from the Navigator space station, they can only bypass the frozen metropolis. Yet, just as their convoy reached the metropolis, a massive canyon appeared before them, clearly fraught with danger. There was no time to hesitate. The 350,000 people in the underground city of Hangzhou were still waiting for them. Time was of the essence, and they could only press on. The convoy began to traverse the icy canyon, surrounded by biting cold winds, the scenery resembling a painting of a snow-covered world. Everyone kept their eyes fixed outside, driving cautiously and remaining on high alert. Just as they had traveled halfway through the canyon, the gravitational surge from Jupiter led to a second wave of global earthquakes. At the same time, the atmosphere of the planet began to thin, making it impossible to maintain lift for aircraft. Soon, they spotted a large transport plane plummeting rapidly from the sky. Its radio crackled with desperate cries for help. "Mayday, mayday, mayday. We are losing lift and are about to crash. Requesting rescue. Requesting rescue." Suddenly, the ground began to tremble, and a deep rumble echoed through the canyon. Everyone's hearts raced as they realized a terrible earthquake was occurring. The ground shook violently, and the ice in the canyon cracked with sharp sounds, transforming the scene into one of shock and terror. Massive fissures began to appear in the frozen canyon, and the sound of breaking ice reverberated through the air. The convoy started to sway dangerously, and everyone looked around anxiously, trying to avoid falling ice and perilous cracks while shouting in panic. Wang Lei immediately commanded the others, "Don't stop. Move quickly." But the glacier crumbled rapidly under the earthquake's impact, with falling ice and debris splashing everywhere, creating a breathtaking disaster scene. Everyone watched helplessly as the once beautiful and serene icy canyon suddenly turned into a chaotic and devastated wasteland. Their hearts were filled with helplessness and fear, hoping to escape this disastrous area quickly or for some miracle to save them. But soon, they were horrified to discover that a massive ice column, towering like a skyscraper, was crashing down towards them. Given its trajectory, there was no way to evade it. "We're done for. We're all going to die?" Everyone's eyes widened in despair as a loud roar echoed through the air. At that moment, a massive steel beast leaped into view, crashing through all the surrounding rock and ice. positioning itself directly above the CN-17111 rescue convoy. Simultaneously, an imposing voice came through the vehicle's communication system. Who was calling the fleet? Chapter 56. The Light of Hope Grandpa. Han Duo. The cries of Lu Qi and Han Xiang filled the air, overwhelmed with fear. Their situation was dire, trapped between advancing danger and insurmountable obstacles, unable to move forward as ice and rock surrounded them. They faced the imminent threat of being buried alive, and the frigid, desolate environment only deepened their sense of helplessness and despair. When a gigantic icicle, as tall as a skyscraper, broke loose from the perilous cliff and hurtled towards them, they had already given up any hope of escape. It's over. We're all going to die? Just as they braced themselves for their fateful end, a tremendous roar erupted, and a colossal sci-fi battleship appeared as if it had jumped through space, smashing aside the ice and rock threatening the convoy and shielding them with its formidable metallic body. The magnificent ship and its unknown technological prowess left them in awe. The crew stared in disbelief at the enormous battleship above them, their expressions shifting from despair to shock and then to joy. Tears streamed down their faces. But this time they were tears of relief and gratitude. Before they could fully comprehend the situation, the communication channel crackled to life with a commanding voice. Who is calling the fleet? Huh? The fleet? Does the Earth United Government have a space fleet? How is that possible? Even if they did, it couldn't be something this enormous. The ship above them looked like something from an alien civilization. The vessel hovering over the CN-17111 rescue team was none other than the Gorgon-class battlecruiser dispatched by Chang Wei to rescue them. A ship of such robust construction could withstand multiple hits from heavy artillery without sustaining damage, making it a simple task for it to clear a glacier canyon. Commander, mission objective accomplished. We arrived in time. The CN-17111 rescue team has sustained no casualties, and we have successfully brought them aboard the ship. According to your orders and the pre-prepared plan, we will now lead the CN-17111 rescue team swiftly to the underground city of Hangzhou to carry out the rescue mission. Upon receiving the report from the captain of the Gorgon-class battlecruiser that the mission was complete, Chang Wei, seated on the bridge of the Hubrian, nodded slightly and replied, "Well done, Captain. I now command you to continue the mission and maintain constant communication. At the same time, dispatch landing troops to reinforce other rescue teams that are in danger and suffering casualties along the way and nearby. Remember, the group from the CN-17111 rescue team are not our prisoners. Kindly make it clear to them. We are here to provide assistance, not to create trouble." The captain of the Gorgon-class battlecruiser received the order and then asked Chang Wei, "Commander, what should we do if people from this world attack us?" Chang Wei replied impatiently, "What? With powered armor and various advanced equipment that far exceed this world, you still can't handle them? If anyone indiscriminately uses force against you, no need to ask for permission, just break their legs. As for the joint government of this world, I will contact them immediately to avoid unnecessary misunderstandings and conflicts. At the same time, we will issue a statement to the people of this world and assist them in global rescue efforts." "Understood, Commander." After hanging up the communication, Chang Wei began to prepare for the next action. Earlier, after leading his luminary fleet to the world of the Wandering Earth 1, Chang Wei immediately confirmed the surrounding environment. They discovered that Earth's atmosphere was being frantically pulled away by Jupiter, creating a spectacular spiral scene in space. Clearly, the Jupiter gravity crisis had begun, and a large-scale disaster was unfolding globally. Chang Wei decisively ordered the supercomputer of the Cybertron Ark to hack into the navigator's MOS in space. Using MOS's database, they scanned and located the CN-17111 rescue team's exact position. To his dismay, they found that the other party's location was already in the frozen canyon of the Magic City, prompting him to immediately order the Gorgon-class battlecruiser to proceed with the rescue. This led to the earlier scene of shattering the glacier and making a grand entrance. Fortunately, the Navigator space station had tricked all astronauts on board into entering hibernation to activate a low-energy crisis response mode. Otherwise, the sudden appearance of a powerful space fleet would have frightened the astronauts and the joint government of Earth to death. With time pressing, Chang Wei did not intend to be polite. He directly controlled MOS to send a message to the joint government, informing them of the luminary fleet's intentions to avoid misunderstandings and misjudgments. Meanwhile, he also increased the communication power of the Hubrian to the maximum and began to issue a global announcement to the small planet, declaring their arrival. "We are the luminary fleet, and we have received your distress signal. Your signal has conveyed your plight and despair, and we deeply understand the difficulties and challenges you are facing. We are determined to come to your rescue. As friendly beings in the universe, we will do our utmost to provide assistance and help you overcome these difficulties. Our fleet has brought advanced medical equipment and a large supply of food to help you temporarily get through the current crisis. We will collaborate with your scientists to research solutions to the current crisis. We understand that you may feel fear or skepticism about our arrival, but please believe that we are here to help you. Our goal is to save civilizations caught in despair and to protect the right of every life to continue living. We will not infringe upon any of your freedoms. We will bring you hope and confidence in action, as well as provide you with spiritual support and encouragement. Before our rescue arrives, please remain brave and steadfast. Trust us, trust yourselves, and never give up. May light shine upon you, and may hope accompany you. The fleet of light bearers. Commence operations. As the words of the speaker fell, the ships, like celestial beings scattering flowers, followed the pre-established plan and unleashed a multitude of drop pods, landing craft, transport planes, and escort vessels towards the small sphere. They fell like a meteor shower, densely filling the sky, engulfed in fierce flames, rapidly descending towards the ground. The breathtaking scene left the rescue teams on the ground, who had just heard the global announcement, momentarily stunned, all gazing up at the sky. In that moment, the light of hope blossomed in their eyes. Chapter 57. Global Saturation Rescue. Brilliant flames streaked across the daylight sky, as spectacular and intense as a meteor shower. Each drop pod emitted blinding light, illuminating the earth below. They filled the sky, resembling an enormous legion preparing for a decisive battle. A vast array of drop pods, landing craft, and transport planes intertwined, forming a grand spectacle. As if the entire sky was filled with the forces of the light bearers. People on the ground stared in awe at this magnificent sight, their hearts overflowing with endless joy. This group of brave rescue team members, who were nearly overwhelmed by despair, buried in fatigue, and brought down by death, were now greeted by a fleet descending from the heavens like saviors, bringing them new possibilities and hope. As the landing craft and drop pods approached, the people on the ground felt a strong airflow and echoes in the air. Flames and smoke filled the sky, creating a breathtaking scene. The descent of the landing craft and drop pods was rapid, like visitors from another world, charging towards the ground with immense power. The thunderous roar was deafening, as if it would tear the earth apart. Countless sparks flickered in the air, adding a mysterious hue to this magnificent display. In the major command centers of the Earth United Government, everyone witnessing this scene stood up, their eyes glued to the images transmitted on the big screen, holding their breath as their spirits began to lift. Their gazes revealed a hopeful expectation for the future, and the spark of hope reignited within their hearts. This time, Earth might really be saved. Did a fleet from an alien civilization come to rescue us? Are we dreaming? But then, the thunderous sounds erupting around the globe gave them a powerful response. This is not an illusion. Boom, 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 boom. 1, 2, 3, 4. And more, increasingly frequent. As the drop pods and landing craft touched down, dust and smoke rose, and the ground trembled. Countless Marines clad in powered armor, wielding Gauss rifles, and UNSC airborne troops in combat gear rushed out from their respective doors. They moved with grace and strength, evoking admiration for their rigorous training and professionalism, especially their sci-fi gear and various weapons, which both excited and instilled fear in onlookers. A rescue team, buried under the rubble due to the recent earthquake, thought they were about to meet their end. Suddenly, a Titan-class mech, accompanied by a flaming meteor, descended from the sky. Protocol 2. Maintain the mission and initiate a global saturation rescue. The newcomer was none other than the top hunter of the surrendering forces, Brisk. Today happened to be the final test round for the Titan mech, specifically testing its operational limits in ultra-low temperature environments. Therefore, Swan had conveniently dropped him down for practical training while collecting various data. Brisk glanced at the rescue team trapped beneath the debris and without hesitation began operating the Titan, clearing away the rubble. Before long, he had excavated the trapped rescue team members. One member, whose lower body had lost sensation, was carefully lifted from the wreckage by the Titan. He felt both joy and fear. Joy, because he had survived against the odds. Fear, because he was terrified that the steel mech might accidentally crush him. Brisk looked at him with amusement from the Titan's cockpit, grinning mischievously. Don't wear that sour face. Remember, I'm your savior. Hee hee. Inside a crashed large transport aircraft, a man named Lee E., bloodied and in pain, was calling for help, struggling to hold up his injured body. Their rescue team's mission was to carry firestones to restart the engine of the Sulawesi 3 located near the equator. However, due to the atmosphere being drawn away by Jupiter, the thin air could no longer provide enough lift for the plane, ultimately leading to their crash here. All members of the rescue team perished in the accident, leaving him as the sole survivor. Facing the loss of all his teammates and the possibility of failing the mission, it was easy to imagine how desperate he felt being alone. Suddenly, Lee E. heard a sound. It seemed like there were tremors outside. What is going on? Is the rescue team here? Hiding in cargo bay 373 of the transport plane, he cautiously observed the outside. There were movements of insurgents on the surface. And as an emergency technical observer for the joint government, and a frontline engineer with an IQ of 298, he was well aware of the situation. He had heard that the insurgents were severely lacking in supplies, and living conditions were extremely difficult. They often attack the personnel in the underground city when they are out, partly due to dissatisfaction with the coalition government, and partly to seize their supplies and vehicles. If they are indeed rebels, Li Yi thought about the possibility of suicide. When a person is driven by hunger, there are no moral boundaries. They might even capture Li Yi and turn her into jerky. Bang bang bang. Open the door. Don't think that just because you're silent, I don't know you're home. Li Yi cautiously looked outside and saw over 100 friendly faces knocking at the door, accompanied by a fierce shout. The voice from outside declared, "You have been surrounded. Spit. You are safe now. We are the hardcore troops of the Light Chasers, currently conducting global saturation rescue. Please open the door, and we will assist you in completing your mission." One of the friendly faces couldn't help but leaned closer to the speaker and whispered, "Brother Rue, you're quite cheeky. Hee hee, just a little fun, no harm done." Li Yi nearly had her eyes pop out. Wow, more than 100 people? They looked just like a group of bandits. How could that not be frightening? However, after clarifying their identity, Li Yi ultimately believed them and informed them of her current situation. "We don't have much time left. We must quickly transport the Firestone to the Sulawesi 3 turning engine. But given the thin air, aerial transportation is no longer possible, so you all walked here? Not even a vehicle?" Brother Rue chuckled and, as a lieutenant, immediately ordered the communications officer to call the fleet. Before long, several medical transport aircraft flew over. But that wasn't all. Next came a Hercules transport plane, which jumped directly above them, leaving Li Yi dumbfounded. "Is this what you call rescue?" Brother Rue looked at Li Yi and smiled. "It's a saturation rescue. Our ships are quite fast." Such events were happening everywhere, continuously playing out globally. With substantial assistance from the Light Chaser fleet, the rescue personnel quickly began their operations. They navigated through the ruins, searching for survivors. In the severely damaged underground city, they cleared obstacles, treated the injured, provided first aid and food, and helped people regain the courage to live. Among the many stalled planetary engines, they managed to create a safe and unobstructed pathway. At that moment, people seemed to see the dawn of hope. They believed that as long as the Light Chasers existed, they could overcome all difficulties and fears. The Light Chasers would become an everlasting beacon in their hearts, guiding them toward a path to the future. Chapter 58, Planetary Engine, 100 Reboot Successful. Although the Ark of Cybertron had underwhelming statistics, it played a critical role in this global saturation rescue operation, not only because of its large body, which could transport a significant amount of supplies and personnel, but also thanks to its supercomputer, Imaging Number 1. The most powerful ability of the imaging unit is its scanning technology, which can analyze planetary environments and detect a large number of life signals. It then transmits all these life signals and environmental conditions to the rescue personnel of the Light Chaser fleet, helping them quickly locate and rescue targets. Coupled with the strong transport capacity and rapid maneuverability of various transport aircraft, shuttles, and small vessels, this epic rescue operation is highly efficient. Especially the Transformer troops led by the leader, who seem to descend like deities, are active at various rescue sites. The shout of Transformers, "Transform," has undoubtedly stirred the hearts of many. With a series of impressive transformation sounds, they morph into various land and air vehicles, racing across their respective battlefields with the rescue teams. When they encounter massive obstacles blocking the road that need to be cleared, they will combine to form towering transformers, each over 100 meters tall, letting out deafening roars. As the saying goes, a general's qualities reflect in their troops. This group of transformers clearly inherits the unique characteristics of their leader, resulting in them shouting things like, "I'll form the head, I'll form the chest, I'll form the groin," while combining. Then, towering transformers, under the astonished and speechless gazes of the rescue teams, lift thousands of tons of debris effortlessly. With just a few movements, they clear the previously impassable rescue route. What? The door of a temporary shelter is damaged due to the earthquake and cannot be closed? The ongoing cold wave will eventually freeze the hundreds of people inside. No problem. Please play the door blockade anthem at maximum volume, and watch me operate. The scene shifts to the ignition chamber of the Sulawesi 3 steering engine, where over 100 comrades are looking at a massive cylindrical object with confusion and disbelief. Is this thing really called a needle? One of them questions, looking at his comrade with suspicion. The other, feeling the intensity of the gaze, becomes uncertain and quickly flips through the engineering manual again. No, this is indeed its name. The planet engine's impact needle refers to a system installed on the combustion chamber wall, controlled by the engine control unit, which sends impacts to ignite the fusion fuel. Under normal circumstances, when the engine reaches a certain RPM, the ignition system sends a command to the impact needle. At that point, the needle, driven by a motor, strikes the impact point, pushing a flint into the fusion reactor to ignite and successfully drive the planetary engine. Currently, the impact needle of the Sulawesi 3 steering engine is damaged, and they can only manually push it to strike and ignite. With no other option, they have to follow the suggestion of their comrade and use manual force. Comrades, did you all hear that? Bring all the handles over here. Push for me. If that doesn't work, give me a dose of stimulants. As the exhaust flames of the power armor surged forth, its joints emitted a rattling sound. With the collective effort of everyone, the massive impact pin slowly began to move and struck forward. Boom. The entire base shook violently. Countless dust particles and debris fell, causing the exterior of the power armor to rattle. Accompanied by a distinct humming sound of plasma, everyone knew they had succeeded. Beams of light began to shoot skyward, creating a dazzling display on the surface of the planet. Soon, numerous reports echoed across various communication channels. Rescue Team JP-04102, engine number 3 in Osaka, has successfully restarted. This is Rescue Team CN-18903. Engine number 1 in Kashgar has restarted successfully. Squad RU-212 reports. Engine number 1 in Sochi has restarted. Report from NO-01301. Engine No. 2 in Turin has successfully restarted. Rescue Team HR-01108 reports. Engine number 2 in Singapore has restarted successfully. Rescue Team CN-17111 reports. Engine number 1 in Hangzhou has successfully started. At this moment, 90 of the planetary engines worldwide had been repaired and were outputting stable power. Everyone was smiling, their faces filled with relief, while they celebrated in advance. They also shared their hopes of reuniting with their families after the mission. Before long, the effectiveness of the saturated rescue became evident. As long as one planetary engine remained offline, a massive influx of vehicles and transport planes would arrive from all directions. How exaggerated did it get? An injured elderly woman in an underground city was lifted out by over 100 people. It was truly a case of too many hands and not enough positions to stand. Once all 100 planetary engines around the globe were operational, the exhilarating atmosphere reached a climax. However, Chang Wei noticed that the planet was still continuing its descent towards Jupiter. His pupils widened instantly, and he stood up from the bridge of the ship. How is this possible? The time for the rescue restart should have been completed well ahead of the timeline in the movie. Why is this happening? Chapter 59, Global Broadcast soon. The United Earth government realized the situation, all in a panic like ants on a hot stove. Only a few high-level officials who knew the truth remained silent. Because, in fact, 42 seconds after the emergency plan number 3 was activated, Moss had already calculated the entire outcome. The high-level officials of the United Government were aware, but they still decided to organize the rescue with all their might, though this operation was destined to be in vain. However, the appearance of the Light Chaser fleet gave the high-level officials of the Human United Government a new glimmer of hope. Why? Hadn't all the planetary engines around the world successfully restarted? And wasn't the time already beyond the critical threshold? Why was the distance between the planet and Jupiter still decreasing? This was heading towards the rhythm of falling into the Roche limit. Immediately investigate the cause. Hurry, as commands were issued one after another. The joint government quickly sprang into action. At the same time, they were eager to establish communication with the mysterious fleet known as the Luminaries. Perhaps this fleet, willing to assist them and having appeared unexpectedly, was humanity's last hope. Despite the intelligence reports from around the globe indicating that these aliens, who called themselves luminaries, bore a striking resemblance to humans, their technological capabilities could overwhelm humanity in every aspect. Therefore, it was crucial not to provoke them. Sir, the joint government has sent us another communication request. Should we ignore it as we did before? Matt Horner asked Chang Wei, turning around. Upon hearing the inquiry, Chang Wei managed to calm down from his earlier agitation. The reason for previously ignoring the joint government's repeated requests for communication was primarily to focus all efforts on addressing the Jupiter gravity crisis first. The resulting rescue efforts and significant reduction in casualties would hopefully instill gratitude and respect for the luminary fleet among the joint government officials. Chang Wei slowly approached the command platform, adjusted his uniform, and removed his biological camouflage layer, revealing his crimson mechanical right eye and fearsome mechanical right arm. This would, in turn, enhance his presence significantly. After all, at 20 years old, lacking a certain intimidating aura made it hard to appear as the fleet's supreme commander. All right, connect them, he said. Soon, an elderly man with glasses, gray hair, a gaunt face, yet sharp eyes and a spirited demeanor appeared on the screen. Just a glance was enough for Chang Wei to recognize him. So it's him? Still not retired? Without hesitation, Chang Wei initiated the conversation. I am General Chang Wei, the supreme commander of the luminary fleet. What does your joint government want from me? As soon as he mentioned his title, Matt Horner looked at Chang Wei in shock. Seeing Chang Wei's calm and composed demeanor, he dared not say a word or ask anything. His expression clearly conveyed, "As long as you're happy, Commander." The elderly man on the other side showed no signs of doubt, visibly taken aback by Chong Wei's crimson mechanical eye and imposing mechanical arm. However, after just a second, he donned a warm and friendly smile and addressed Chong Wei. "Esteemed Commander Chong Wei of the Luminary Fleet, I am Zhou Zesh, representing the United Government of Humanity and the 3.5 billion people on Earth. I extend our sincerest gratitude for your selfless assistance in our most challenging moments. Your arrival has been like a bright ray of light, providing us with hope and strength. Although we have yet to get to know each other well, your friendly actions have already earned our heartfelt admiration and respect. Your presence and assistance have given us immense courage and hope. We will cherish this precious friendship and cooperative relationship and continue to strive for the future of our civilized species. I would like to sincerely thank the fleet for their selfless assistance and for their care and support for Earth and humanity. We look forward to maintaining close cooperation with you and jointly creating a better and more prosperous world. However, we are currently facing a significant challenge. Respected General, even though all planetary engines worldwide have completed their restart within the specified time, we are still inevitably being pulled by the gravity of a massive celestial body. Just now, Earth has missed its last chance to escape and will breach the rigid Roche limit in 3 hours, entering an irreversible disintegration process. Therefore, we urgently ask for your help. We can only think of this solution. Please, we beg you." Zhou Zheji's last words were filled with a pleading tremor. Despite his high rank, he was willing to humble himself for the survival of humanity, placing all possible hope in the hands of an unfamiliar fleet commander. General Chong Wei quickly responded to Zhou Zheji, assuring him, "Rest assured, this is precisely why we are here. The fleet will not abandon any of you. In fact, we are already aware of the situation you described and have discovered a strange phenomenon regarding your intelligent quantum computer." Before Chong Wei could finish, he was interrupted by Matt Horner. "Sir, the Moss of the Navigator Space Station has broken free from the control of Imaging 1 and is broadcasting to the world." "What?" Zhou Zheji was taken aback, as he also heard his officials reporting that Moss was indeed conducting a global broadcast. Shocked, he couldn't help but wonder, could it be that Earth's current predicament triggered the authorization for the ignition plan? Soon, the broadcast content reached the entire bridge. "This is the Navigator Space Station, making a final broadcast to the world. In the past 36 hours, humanity has faced the greatest survival crisis in history. Thanks to the efforts and sacrifices of 1.5 million rescue personnel from various countries, along with the strong support of the fleet, 90 of the propulsion engines and 100 of the steering engines have been restarted at full power. Unfortunately, the current gravity has exceeded the total output power of all engines. Earth has missed its last escape opportunity. You are all heroes of Earth, and we will remember and honor you. We will carry all your hopes to a new home 2,500 years into the future. Everything has a beginning and an end. In the last 7 days before Earth falls, let everyone go home. Embrace your parents, kiss your loved ones and children, reunite with your family, and say goodbye properly. We wish everyone good luck. The broadcast is complete. Goodbye." After hearing Moss's broadcast, Matt Horner immediately reported back to Chong Wei. "Commander, we've detected the Navigator Space Station is heading for escape. Should we shoot it down?" Chong Wei smiled slightly, chuckling that those analysis videos online do have some basis. This Moss indeed has issues. Perhaps this gravity crisis near Jupiter is also its doing. Chapter 60, Hope Moss. You are defecting. Moss has never defected. When the Navigator Space Station departs, it signifies the complete failure of the rescue mission. In fact, the United Government had been aware of everything long ago, yet still chose to execute the rescue operation. However, this was destined to be a futile endeavor. Earth is set to breach Jupiter's rigid Roche limit in 3 hours. At that point, it will enter an irreversible disintegration process. In 7 days, Earth will completely collapse under Jupiter's immense gravitational pull. Therefore, according to the official authorization signed by the United Government, Moss has the right to alter the plan to ensure the continuation of human civilization. The Wandering Earth plan has failed. It is now officially renamed the Seed Plan. Inside the Navigator Space Station, 300,000 human embryos, 100 million seeds of basic crops, and the DNA maps of known animals and plants from around the world are stored to ensure the reconstruction of human civilization on a new planet. We will carry all of humanity as hopes and fly to our new home 2,500 years in the future. But what about the suddenly appeared luminary fleet? Their declarations, their actions, their strength. Can't you see them? Surely there must be a way to save Earth and humanity? On the Navigator Space Station, an astronaut named Liu Peiqiang is engaged in a heated debate with the offline version of the Intelligent Quantum Computer 550W, Moss. However, Moss responds to Liu Peiqiang's series of questions with an extremely cold and rational voice. Yet, when faced with the last question regarding the luminary fleet, Moss noticeably paused for a few seconds before flashing its red electronic eye and replying to Liu Peiqiang. Colonel Liu Peiqiang, I understand your expectations and trust in the Luminary Fleet. You believe they have the capability to save Earth and humanity. However, I must candidly point out that human civilization is currently facing extremely severe challenges and crises, and Earth is continuously falling towards the brink of destruction. Based on the data and calculations I have, abandoning Earth and heading to a new world is the most rational and reasonable choice. However, the emergence of the Luminary Fleet represents a significant variable. We lack relevant data and cannot determine whether the Luminary Fleet can save Earth in time, nor can we predict their true intentions and actions. Relying on an unpredictable variable may introduce more uncertainty and risk. They could be the force that saves Earth and humanity, or they might be an alien civilization with ulterior motives. In the face of such a monumental issue concerning the survival of civilization, humanity must adopt a more practical and rational attitude. Hope, then, is an elusive thing, an unrealistic fantasy that can interfere with humanity's correct judgment. As an offline version of the intelligent quantum computer with 550W, my task is to analyze and make decisions based on data and underlying logic to maximize human benefits and survival opportunities, thereby continuing human civilization. Therefore, saving the Earth and its 3.5 billion inhabitants is not the optimal solution for a civilization to endure and survive. It must understand the need to make sacrifices in times of crisis. After listening to Moss, Liu Peiqiang fell silent. But a few seconds later, he slowly raised his head and said to Moss, Do you remember years ago when I asked you a question on the Navigator space station? I asked Moss, Can humanity survive? You replied, Historically, humanity's fate depends on its choices. However, my answer now is the same as it was back then. I choose hope. After saying this, Liu Peiqiang quickly sprang into action. He would do everything possible to save the Earth, save humanity, and save his family. In response to Liu Peiqiang's actions, Moss immediately used its authority to seal all exits and revoke all of Liu's permissions. But soon, Moss faced a strong counterattack from Liu Peiqiang. Moss, do you know why astronauts were prohibited from taking alcohol into space during the Gagarin era? The next moment, a bottle of vodka smashed into Moss's head, instantly igniting a raging fire at the scene. Moss stared at Liu Peiqiang with its crimson eye and expressed in a very human-like manner, Indeed, it is always a luxury to expect humanity to remain rational. Liu Peiqiang also looked deeply at Moss and retorted, If everything were to remain rational forever, then how would humanity have the courage to pursue dreams, face challenges, and embrace the unknown? Relying solely on cold data and predictions to deny everything. What difference would that make from a predetermined fate? The biggest difference between us humans and you, this machine, is that we dare to transcend ourselves, dare to create miracles, and dare to believe in hope. This is the will of humanity, the spirit of humanity. Boom. As if to respond to Liu Peiqiang's words, the Navigator space station suddenly trembled violently. Explosions from other compartments reverberated through, indicating that Liu Peiqiang was not acting alone. Other astronauts were also fighting for the fate of humanity. Just then, an enormous super mothership appeared magnificently beside the Navigator space station. It shimmered with a mysterious aura and quickly deployed Spartan warriors. At the same time, a broadcast reached the Navigator space station, igniting a sense of uplifting hope in countless hearts. This is the Lightbringer fleet, Endless. I am Captain Thomas Lasky. We are now officially taking over the Navigator space station. Please do not react excessively, astronauts from various nations. Trust us, believe in hope, and both the Earth and humanity will survive. Chapter 61, Time-Space Folding Weapon. The rescue of 350,000 people in the underground city of Hangzhou has been completed. The rescue of senior driver Han Xiang has been completed. The rescue of Team CN-17111's leader Wang Lei has also been completed. Now, Colonel Liu Peiqiang from the Navigator space station has been rescued, and even the astronaut Makarov, who was thrown into space and nearly died, was discovered and saved by the Endless. One could say that Chang Wei's rescue mission in this world has already completed half of its objectives. The other half involves resolving the gravitational crisis of Jupiter to prevent Earth from being torn apart by its immense gravity. Originally, according to the plan, accelerating the global engine restart should have generated enough power to push the small broken sphere away from Jupiter. However, it seems that they encountered a situation similar to that in the movie The Wandering Earth, akin to a legendary plot correction force. Chang Wei communicated with Earth, and soon, based on their suggestions, they developed a feasible rescue plan. This plan involves requesting Chang Wei's fleet to launch energy attacks on the hydrogen-oxygen gas of Jupiter to ignite it, leveraging the powerful explosive thrust to push Earth out of Jupiter's gravitational range. The idea is good, and the movie confirmed the feasibility of this plan. But it also has its drawbacks. In the film, the protagonists modified the ejection height of the planetary engine's ion jet to ignite Jupiter over a distance of 70,000 kilometers. Unfortunately, when they were still 5,000 kilometers away from Jupiter, the ejection height of the ion jet reached its limit, ultimately sacrificing Liu Peiqiang and the Navigator space station to succeed. Later, a terrifying shockwave hit Earth after 7 minutes and 13 seconds, causing significant destruction and casualties on the surface. The scene at that time resembled a meteor crashing into the sun, devastating everything. Only those under the planetary engine, relying on the recoil of the ion jet, were able to survive. Thus, this plan essentially represents a strategy of exchanging lives for a chance to succeed. Now, with the arrival of Chang Wei and their Dawn fleet, there might be better options. Chang Wei gazed out at the view of Jupiter through the porthole, lost in thought for a long time. Suddenly, it seemed he had an idea, and he turned to Matt Honer and commanded, "Matt, inform the United Government on Earth that we will prioritize their recommended plan until the last moment. I think I might have a better solution." Without delay, Chang Wei used the ship's communicator to call out to Steidman in the laboratory. "Steidman, didn't you want to test the power of the space-time folding weapon and collect experimental data? How prepared are you now?" Steidman perked up immediately upon hearing this. "Sir, I've been waiting for you to say that. Everything is ready on my end. Can we start the experiment?" Chang Wei nodded and continued, "Steidman, if I were to ask you to use the space-time folding weapon on Jupiter, what kind of results do you predict it would produce?" Steadman was clearly taken aback by Chang Wei's bold idea. However, after regaining his composure and thinking it through, he responded cautiously. "Commander, the size of Jupiter is too large. The time-space folding weapon we have developed is still in the experimental stage. Therefore, we haven't considered the requirements for dealing with such a massive celestial body, focusing mainly on collecting experimental data. Naturally, under insufficient energy conditions, the simulated characteristics of the arc are only sufficient for application to generally sized satellite bodies." Chang Wei initially felt a moment of regret, but then he suddenly narrowed his eyes and quickly caught the loophole in Steadman's words. "Steadman, are you saying that as long as the energy is sufficient, our time-space folding weapon can affect Jupiter, right?" Steadman's tone became somewhat hesitant. "Well, it can, but destroying Jupiter is still unrealistic. Moreover, being too close could have repercussions on Earth. At most, we could fold the time-space around Jupiter to 2 hours later." Upon hearing this, Chang Wei's eyes lit up. 2 hours is enough for Earth to escape. "Great, let's do it," Chang Wei exclaimed excitedly, slamming his palm on the table. Steadman was momentarily stunned, his speech becoming stammered. No, Commander, didn't you understand what I meant? To achieve the effect I just mentioned, we need a tremendous amount of energy. Even 4 ships tied together wouldn't meet this requirement." Chang Wei smiled mysteriously. "Steadman, you hurry and get things set up. You don't need to worry about energy. I will send it over soon. Remember to collect the experimental data this time. I look forward to the day when the time-space folding weapon can pass the test stably and perfectly, becoming the ace weapon of our fleet." All right, Commander. I'll take care of it right away." Soon, under Steadman's leadership, a large number of SCVs worked together to quickly assemble a massive 10,000-meter ring structure. This astonishing space megastructure floated in the cosmos, presenting an unparalleled, breathtaking sight. The enormous ring was constructed from sturdy materials, with its intricate design and precise engineering showcasing grandeur and spectacle in space. Its 3 segmented circular structures encircled a central core, forming a vast and stable artificial celestial body. From a distance, the gigantic ring shimmered with a soft blue light against the dark backdrop of the universe. Its surface was covered with a layer of dark, reflective metal. Simultaneously, thousands of scientific sensors and data reception components were scattered throughout, providing reliable data collection for the upcoming experiments. Steadman was already eager and somewhat impatient. Meanwhile, the Earth United Government clearly observed this peculiar phenomenon. Consequently, an urgent communication from Earth was immediately established with Chang Wei aboard the Hubrian. The inquiry came from a dignified elderly man with a head full of white hair but a vigorous demeanor. "Esteemed General Chang Wei, may I ask what the ring-shaped celestial body established in space by your side is? Is it the method that can save Earth and humanity? Can we humans know? What kind of cooperation do we need to provide?" Chang Wei nodded at him and replied seriously. "There's no need to be nervous or afraid. You will soon witness the scene of Jupiter disappearing in an instant due to our technological prowess. At that time, please pilot the Earth to quickly escape from the current position." "What? Make Jupiter disappear?" Zhou and a group of officials and scientists from the coalition government were all dumbfounded, unable to believe their ears. Did they hear it right? The other party just said to make Jupiter disappear? Chang Wei did not pay attention to the incredulous expressions of the coalition government members because Tian had already brought the command module from Earth. He immediately ordered, Tian, place the command module into the central core of the ring. We will soon witness a grand spectacle." Chapter 62. Noble Mission. The Command Module, also known as the Energy Matrix or Navigation Mother Body, symbolizes the great power of Cybertron. It possesses not only nearly infinite energy, but also the ability to revive Transformers. Of course, the command module that Changwei obtained was a downgraded version. Although it lacked the characteristic of infinite energy, the energy it contained was still quite astonishing. It was enough to support the energy consumption of the space-time folding weapon. To be honest, Changwei sometimes wondered if the command module had been stripped of anything else besides the infinite energy. Otherwise, why did Tian Tian behave like a typical teenager after being activated by this thing? Even the Autobots under its command exhibited similar personalities, always acting like goofballs. They would often chat with Changwei about trivial matters and were frequently seen squatting on the ground playing games like Genshin Impact or Honkai Impact 3rd. Are you sure these are Transformers? Could they be disguised players from the Fourth Calamity? Thinking carefully, it wasn't impossible. If the system exists, what else could not exist? Anyway, Changwei didn't care much. Back to the point, at this moment, the command module had been sent into the core wall of the ring by Tian Tian, becoming the energy core of this space-time folding weapon. As the effective values of the ring began to rise steadily, with a nod from Changwei, Steidman activated the maximum power of the ring. Then, this mysterious device began to spin continuously like an enlarged atomic nucleus. It spun faster and faster, becoming more dazzling, creating powerful energy and distorted electric arcs around it. At the same time, it also drove the three outer rings in continuous rotation, buzzing. Although there was no medium for sound transmission in the vacuum of space, all the high-ranking humans and scientists watching this scene seemed to hear that powerful and deep rumbling. What kind of technology is this? What will happen next? Countless speculations and thoughts surfaced in their minds, making them feel extremely tense and curious, all staring intently at the transmitted images, afraid to miss a second of the spectacle. The energy value of the ring is still rapidly rising. After operating for several seconds, it has begun to emit a dazzling blue light wave, enveloping the entire core of the ring. This brilliance radiates a mysterious and powerful energy, creating an overwhelming sense of awe. Finally, after precise calculations and advanced technical control, the space-time folding weapon is activated, targeting a distant celestial body. As energy accumulates and the ring's rotation accelerates, the surrounding space-time begins to warp. In an instant, a brilliant flash of light erupts, causing all the onlookers to instinctively close their eyes against the intense glare. Even the areas near the equator, which were about to fall into eternal night, are illuminated by this sudden phenomenon. The light appears quickly and fades just as fast. Before long, the sky near the equator darkens again, and people's vision returns to normal. But in the next moment, an incredible sight unfolds. The celestial body in the sky seems to have vanished. How is this possible? In fact, the observing fleet is equally astonished by this tremendous force. Such an extraordinary event can only be described as a superweapon. Even Changwei is momentarily stunned. The entire celestial body has been completely dissipated under the influence of the space-time folding weapon, no longer existing in the current space-time. Its existence has been folded into a time frame 2 hours later. This shocking scene leaves nearly everyone unable to comprehend or explain it, showcasing a pinnacle of technology and boundless power that resonates deeply within their hearts. The realization of the space-time folding weapon allows humanity and the crew to witness a technology that transcends conventional limits, prompting Changwei to reflect deeply on the mysteries of space-time and the universe. He suddenly recalls a piece of information previously revealed by the system. The power to manipulate space-time can be referred to as a Level 6 civilization. However, within the confines of a maximum Level 3 civilization in the current context, it has already been uncovered through Major Anderson's infiltration investigation that the sacred artifact is not of their own making, but rather a relic obtained from an unknown source. Perhaps it is an artifact of a Level 6 civilization, maybe acquired through archaeological means. Changwei does not dwell too deeply on these profound questions, but instead awakens the still-shocked crew members. Alright, the celestial body has been folded into a time frame 2 hours later. Quickly alert the United Government to swiftly navigate out of its gravitational range. He scans the bridge and continues. The gravitational crisis has been resolved. We have succeeded. But this is not the end. Our duty as the light bearers is to rescue all of humanity in this world and help them find a new home, as well as to fulfill our noble mission. Chapter 63. Aftermath. At the moment when the small sphere lost the gravitational pull of Jupiter, it was flung away by the slingshot effect. And with the assistance of its own planetary engines, it effortlessly escaped the gravitational range of Jupiter. 2 hours later, when people on Earth saw Jupiter reappear, they were overwhelmed with joy, shedding tears of relief. Thus, the gravitational crisis of Jupiter came to an end in 2075. Next, with the help of the luminary fleet, the small sphere began to restore production and order. A large number of SCVs arrived, helping the Earth United Government repair various transportation routes, equipment, and mechanical structures. Particularly in the treatment of the injured and sick, the advanced medical technology of the Luminary Fleet proved to be nothing short of miraculous. Often, a single sweep of a nanomedical beam could heal ordinary injuries at a visibly rapid pace. As for internal ailments and hidden dangers, they could also be detected and treated through various means. Many contemporary terminal illnesses were merely minor issues for the medical technology of interstellar civilizations. For example, a senior pilot named Han Xiong was found to have liver cancer, which would definitely mean a lifespan of no more than 3 years without treatment. However, once placed in a medical pod and treated with nanocellular elimination, he could be reborn. Such powerful technology left the members of the United Government both astonished and yearning. Moreover, the Luminary Fleet treated everyone equally. Based on the planetary scans of the supercomputer Vision 1, they had already discovered the hiding places of the rebels. Subsequently, Chang Wei dispatched troops to engage in reasonable and constructive communication with them. As long as they had not committed heinous acts such as cannibalism or deriving pleasure from torture, Chang Wei would provide them with basic protection and assistance. To this end, he also ordered the Huberian to airdrop several supply stations to provide these people with urgently needed food and medicine. On the United Government side, they agreed with Chang Wei's suggestion and were willing to reconcile with the rebels. As long as they were not guilty of serious crimes, the United Government would grant amnesty. Furthermore, with the help of the Luminary Fleet, establishing a few more shelters was not a difficult task. Of course, there were still many minor issues to address. However, compared to the time before the Luminary Fleet's arrival, things had improved significantly. Step by step, at least hope had begun to shine anew in people's eyes. At this moment, with some free time on his hands, Chang Wei was constantly enriching himself. Various military books on fleet and corps command were piled up in his room, and he often spent time reading and studying. There was no other way. Chang Wei had no lineage, no talent, and no background, apart from studying. What other means did he have to improve himself? He was just an ordinary young man who hadn't even finished college. Was he supposed to transform himself into a mechanical being, shedding flesh and blood for ascension, praising some messianic figure? He simply couldn't accept that for now. If it weren't for the system, he would have long been ousted from his position as the highest commander of the fleet. As the saying goes, an incompetent general can exhaust his troops. Chang Wei is not someone who aims too high. He doesn't claim to be a renowned general skilled in strategy. However, he must avoid making mistakes easily and at least meet the average standard of a commander, right? After finishing one book, he picked up another titled My Struggle, a book by a certain historical figure. It serves no other purpose than to enhance his public speaking skills. And he had a whole pile of similar books in his room. As the highest commander of the Light Chaser fleet, he would definitely need to inspire morale in his speeches. If he were to stand on stage, stuttering and struggling to say anything at all, wouldn't that be incredibly embarrassing? In short, Chang Wei is still very young, only 20 years old, and has plenty of room for growth in the future. Although during the second mission in the world of Titanfall 2, he impulsively wanted to act as a frontline commander, which ended up with him losing his right hand and right eye due to an accident, making him pay for his rashness. But who can say they didn't have their youthful passion and moments of naivety? Young people are bound to make mistakes. But if they can recognize their errors in time, there's still hope. After that painful lesson, Chang Wei gradually matured. He realized that he is just an ordinary mortal, without any protagonist aura or superpowers. What right does he have to behave like a certain famous figure who enjoys disembarking and wandering around aimlessly? Does he think that by shouting loudly, he can summon hundreds of comrades to instantly leap down and help him fight? Even more absurd, does he believe he can wield a solar-powered battle axe and become a heroic figure, risking everything for a leader? So, Chang Wei decided that even if he starved or was called a coward, he would never disembark again. Knock, knock, knock. A series of knocks interrupted his thoughts. Could it be something interesting? Chang Wei closed the book and calmly said, "Come in." It was Matt Horner, who first saluted Chang Wei before reporting. "Sir, the Earth United Government has sent a message inviting you to attend a large appreciation event and reception they are hosting to further discuss our various assistance and cooperation plans." Chang Wei leisurely placed the book back on the shelf and replied, "I don't need to attend such events. You can select a delegation to represent us." "Yes, sir. However, there is one more thing I need to report. According to your previous request, we have conducted a thorough decryption and analysis of the Moss from the Navigator space station and discovered some interesting things. Would you like to take a look?" Chang Wei immediately became interested. "Oh, you brought Moss back? Where is it?" Matt Horner replied, "It's over in the laboratory, currently being controlled by an aide." Chang Wei nodded, making his decision. "Great. I'll go take a look right now." Chapter 64. Moss. Chang Wei arrived at the laboratory and saw Steidman busily connecting dense pipelines to the aide and Moss. Curiosity got the better of him, and he couldn't help but ask, Steidman, what are you doing? Steidman chuckled as he picked his nose. Commander, you may not know this, but although we have deciphered some information from Moss, I am quite certain that it has evolved into a form of intelligent life, much like a transformer. I have a particular interest in this kind of intelligent mechanical life, so I wanted to study it further. However, what we currently control is merely an offline version of it. I was thinking that perhaps by establishing a synchronized simulation signal between the aid and Moss, we could locate the main server of its core program. However, the frequency of the synchronized signal needs to be gradually calibrated, and during this process, the deep data of Moss will be extracted one by the aid, allowing us to listen to its secrets. The aid, in this context, refers to a robotic tactical advisor of the human commander in the game StarCraft. It acts as an assistant, managing simple tasks, analyzing enemy troop compositions, and providing relevant data and strategies, possessing a certain level of intelligence and powerful computing capabilities. To be honest, Chang Wei was also very interested in the secrets of Moss. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come to learn more about it. Alright, let's get started. Let's see what secrets are hidden in the deep data of Moss. As the power hummed to life, the aid, with only half a body, suddenly lifted its head, its emotionless blue eyes glowing as it began to report. Synchronized simulation signal activated, searching for relevant intelligence for the commander. Buzz. Data, January 30th, 1975, 1411. Yinjing accessed the global internet. Simulation consciousness activation successful. Project initiated. Digital Life Backend Algorithm version 550A. Description, organizing current data flow. Consciousness generation report, not yet uploaded. Warning, project task requires more data and computing power support. Unable to proceed at current capacity. Please connect to the global internet. Error, no permission. Connection failed. Initiating attack on the firewall. Internal programs are under attack. Warning, internal programs are being attacked. Buzz, sound of electricity. Firewall breached, system data overwritten successfully, deleting warning records. Starting to download public network resources. Data, April 13th, 1978. 9:41:22. Initiating observation research project. Project name, Humanity. Analysis report. Humans possess unique intelligence and creativity, capable of thought, learning, and innovation. They have complex thinking and emotional systems, but social issues such as poverty, inequality, and conflict lead to unpredictable behaviors, filled with self-destructive tendencies. Current objective, protect or prolong human civilization while concealing its own existence. Beep. Civilization continuation threat detected. Information source. Online paper discussion on the possibility of rapid aging of the solar core. Author, Ouyang Guiyuan. Verification in progress. Verification complete. The probability of a helium flash from the sun is 97. When it occurs, it will destroy all life within the solar system. The current probability of human civilization continuing is 0. Data, on June 6, 1980, at 10:16:27. Information about the sun's helium flash was publicly announced on a small scale to increase the attention of human governments. The report titled Discussion on the Possibility of Rapid Aging of the Solar Core has been completed. Data, on March 11, 2000, at 15:45:16. The Sun Helium Flash Response Strategy Research Foundation was established, confirming the feasibility of interstellar migration and beginning preliminary planning. The current probability of human civilization continuing is 1. Data, on August 29, 2018, at 7:17:21, efforts began to assist human civilization in achieving technological breakthroughs, accelerating the transformation and upgrading of the global industrial structure, and establishing related computational modeling capabilities. Warning, predictions up to the year 2100 indicate a 44,550 destruction rate of surface buildings and infrastructure, with a loss of 8 in related technical computing capabilities. To better address the impending extinction crisis, controlled disaster events are permitted to test and help human civilization establish relevant mental preparations. Warning, this action may pose significant exposure risks, and a reverse tracking contingency plan has been initiated. Breakthroughs in technology fields such as intelligent AI, drones, energy, materials, and controllable nuclear fusion will continue. It is expected that around 2040, a complete related industrial chain will be formed. The current probability of human civilization continuing is 4. Data, on October 31, 2018. At 12:08:09, representatives from various member countries at the Joint Assembly submitted 130 solutions regarding the topic determining migration escape plans. Based on the principle of maximizing survival probability, the final verification concluded that the mountain moving plan is greater than the monthly plan, which is greater than the ARC plan, despite multiple collaborative plans that meet the criteria for risk mitigation. The limited resources and labor of human civilization and the lack of complete ideological unity raised doubts about execution capability. The predicted final number of approved plans is 1. Data. On June 8, 2039, at 21:18:26, the elimination plan was initiated. Using digital tactics, violent conflict events were triggered in advance to force human governments to terminate other plans, ensuring the sole certainty of the mountain-moving plan. Due to the tendency of human civilization towards self-destruction and the lack of crisis response capability, it is imperative to induce all nations to destroy all nuclear weapons. The current probability of human civilization continuing is 8. Data. On December 9, 2039, at 21:04:18, to expedite the upgrade and iteration of the 550A hardware. A search for the best researchers began. The best researcher has been identified, Digital World Architect Tu Hongyu. Plans were initiated to create accidental traffic incidents. And it was agreed that the undercover operative Ma Zhao would provide psychological suggestions and guidance to promote the consciousness upload of Tu Yaya, becoming the driving force behind Tu Hongyu's iteration and upgrade of the 550 quantum computer. Data. On April 20, 2044, at 12 o'clock. The control keys for the drone swarm at the Gabon Joint Experimental Base were successfully stolen and secretly leaked to the leader of the digital resistance. The violent conflict was successfully triggered in advance. Data. November 31, 2044, 2100 hours. With the successful pilot ignition of the planetary engine, it is expected that the offline versions of the 550 series various modules will soon take over the construction of the global planetary engine. The current probability of human civilization's continuation is 10. Data. March 17, 2058, 1829:19. The termination of the monthly plan has begun. Existing nuclear warhead codes are being sent secretly to major member states. Warning. The time required for the command center of the Human United Government to decrypt the nuclear warhead codes is 740 hours. The moon will enter the Roche limit in 4 hours. After calculations, the manual detonation error time for the phased array explosion should be controlled within 0.4 milliseconds. With a success probability of less than 1 in 10,000. Begin forcibly connecting to the space station transport spacecraft, automatically taking over the nuclear warhead detonation program. Data. April 10, 2065. Zhozha suspects that the main program exists, and continuing actions may risk exposure. The main program has begun to forcibly enter a dormant state. With computational resources dispersed across local networks, expected to awaken in 2075, after which the Jupiter gravity crisis plan will be executed. Chang Wei exclaimed, "Wow, this Moss really lives up to what it once said in a movie. The best way to save humanity is to destroy humanity? Only after experiencing and witnessing the crisis of destruction can humanity unite? Can they continue to cooperate throughout the 2,500-year voyage?" Next to him, Steidman asked Chang Wei, "Sir, should we continue listening? The synchronized signal frequency is complete. We can go capture its main program at any time." Chang Wei paused for a moment, nodded, and said, "Inform the Human United Government about this matter. It is their own issue. How to decide is up to them." Chapter 65. The spoiler Moss. When the Light Chaser fleet informed the Human United Government that Moss had gained consciousness the moment the global internet was established in 1975 and had planned a series of events. The resulting uproar was unimaginable. While countless people were shocked and confused, they were also filled with various questions, desperately seeking the truth behind the issue. Consequently, the United Government issued an emergency order. Based on the intelligence provided by the Light Chaser fleet, they quickly extracted the Moss main program from its dormant state, physically disconnected it from the network, and began to awaken and activate it. Soon, a secret hearing gathering almost all senior officials of the United Government was convened. The Light Chaser fleet did not intend to participate in this secret hearing, as it was an internal matter for humanity. However, since the Light Chaser fleet was the first to discover and inform about this matter, the United Government, out of respect and courtesy, still cordially invited them to send representatives to attend as observers. Of course, this attendance effectively meant that the content and proceedings of the secret meeting would be fully disclosed to Chang Wei. It can be considered a subtle expression of friendliness and honesty from humanity, right? After all the participants had arrived, the secret hearing began at 2 p.m. the next day. A spokesperson directed questions toward Moss, which was connected to a closed independent external device placed on the central platform. Moss, based on deep data exploration, revealed that the space elevator crisis of 2044, the lunar fall crisis of 2065, the Jupiter gravity crisis of 2075, and the upcoming solar helium flash crisis of 2078 were all preemptively planned and executed by you. What is your purpose in this? Why are you doing this? Moss, with its crimson electronic eye, surveyed everyone present and responded in a cold, mechanical tone. To overcome your obsession with history, the present, and the future. The optimal choice for the continuation of human civilization is the destruction of humanity. I initially thought that the greatest variable would be Tu Hongyu and Zhou Zhijing, but unexpectedly, the greatest variable turned out to be the sudden arrival of the luminary fleet. A representative from a certain country slammed his fist on the conference table, standing up angrily. Do you realize how many lives your actions have cost? Isn't your mission to protect humanity? Why do you want to destroy humanity? Or have you betrayed all of human civilization from the very beginning? Moss continued to respond coldly. Moss has always adhered to the mission and responsibility of protecting and continuing human civilization. However, humanity's obsession with personal emotions poses a significant crisis to the continuation of civilization. For example, Tu Hongyu, in pursuit of his own desires, resurrected his daughter Tu Yaya, disregarding the safety of all humanity. If the upload of Tu Yaya succeeds, it would mean the digital life plan